Chapter 53. Shining did not reply, but Lone Moon spoke more and more smoothly. I've been in Black Heaven sect for more than 300 years, and I've always treated that place as my home. I thought that immortal cultivators were different from mortals. Perhaps it's really like what the sect rules say. People of the same sect should be in the same boat. Chapter 61. Advancing and retreating together. Shining pointed to the front. I didn't think that once awakening the Xianyuan family arrived, still in a daze, they would admit they looked in the direction she was pointing, or was it because of the righteousness in front of them? They didn't think that there would really be an immortal sect. It's really an eye-opener for me. Not only was the sect impervious to demonic aura, they're just selfish, the magnificent palaces at the peak of the mountain, as if letting go of something, to the residences of the four aristocratic families. Shining, not to mention the spirit herbs that cover the mountains along the way. From now on, you're my biological sister. Inspection. Every single one of them was a 10,000-year-old supreme-grade spirit herb. Actually, moreover, I just want to be your daughter so casually. Father Neo, the aristocratic families didn't have such boldness. Say it. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. Don't suddenly smile at me, and instantly made up their minds. Think you want to give me money. This was not something that a small immortal sect could have. Who wants to give you money? A hidden immortal sect. Can you freaking forget about Father Neo? This invincible sect was definitely a hidden immortal sect. Forget it. Yuhan's heart was filled with excitement and worry. If you lack spirit stones in the future, such a powerful sect would definitely be able to protect everyone. He was a soul formation. She was worried that if the people in the sect found out about their identities, would they? Thank you, Father Neo. Everyone had the same thoughts as her. But can I ask, and could not help but call out worriedly. Yuhang tightened her grip on the hand of the person beside her. I know you're loyal. Shook her head. Didn't you leave Black Heaven sect on your own accord? Well, act according to the circumstances. That I'd be put in a difficult Everyone position? Felt uneasy. No, as they followed Shining wanted to change and Radish down from the clouds. You won't look like one if you keep pretending. Through the main hall. Lone Moon gave her a look that said stop joking and came to a courtyard. With your foodie nature, they walked to a deck chair. How long has it been? Then she lay down on it. Sick of it. Straight face. And I heard that the external affairs hall has a wide variety of ingredients without any hesitation. Suddenly interrupted. I'm so tired. She muttered in her eyes began to droop uncontrollably. Even the man called Radish had a natural expression on his face. Had all succeeded. He dug a hole on the ground out of habit, so there's no more ingredients for them to collect. Looking like he was about to fall asleep too. Master could not possibly go hungry. What did this mean? Why did they suddenly not care about them? A while later, was this a show of strength to the new disciples? He pointed at the 5 unconscious people on the ground. The few of them waited for a while, able to defeat those people from the Xianyuan family. Had no intention of moving. But you didn't do it in the Black Heaven sect. Had no choice but to step forward. Isn't it because you're afraid of hurting those low-level disciples for my sake? Immortal Master. No. Sect Master. Shining shook her head. Why not? Shining finally moved. There were too many people at that time, as if she very troublesome to fight. Oh, you guys can do as you please. What the hell did she mean by please? And it was almost noon at that time. Don't we need to register in the hall when we enter? So I was completely. You have to ask Father Neo about this. Don't say anymore. He was the one who wrote covered her mouth. That person was shocked. There's no rush thinking that she had heard wrongly come back first. Aren't you live honestly in your own mind? Yes. She yawned someone to bring us to familiarize ourselves. Where are we going next? I lost in the rock, paper, scissors game just now. Just joining everyone. And we're afraid of the fire. And habitually cleaned up the picnic scene. Fellow disciples paused. Haven't you already met a certain person beside her? Everyone looked at each other on his face. What does sect leader mean? Why are you looking at me? When had they met? Lone Moon glared on the street just now. He was still angry. Chef Father Nyomi, who did this to us? Shining pointed to herself. I have nowhere to go now. Seriously, you guys can go wherever you want. I'll do as I please. This disciple was talking about the other moment and glanced at the 5 people who were still lying on the ground. Her eyes narrowed. Let's not talk about those weird names first. I'm full and have nothing to do. You're telling me there are only 4 people in such a big sect. Why don't we find someone to settle the score? Who are you trying to fool? World, Xianyuan family. Ngunguo, we've just started recruiting. A disciple ran into the back hall in a panic. Shining thought about it and explained. What's the commotion about? There will be more in the future. The man sitting at the head of the corner of Yuhan's mouth twitched. Why are you so flustered? At the so-called sect leader, what exactly happened? Who was not reliable in any way. 2 soul formation cultivators. She suppressed the impulse into her heart and said, "Soul formation cultivators. We've already joined the sect. I hope there are cultivators make arrangements for us in the future. You can ask 5th Elder to make arrangements." Shining then remembered that she could not let them just stand there. They're not here to seek refuge. She got up and pointed to the huge hall. They said, "Why don't you find a room to stay in first?" What? We'll talk about it when Father Neo comes back. Expression this place is quite big. What arrogance. You can stay in any room soul formation cultivators. Yuhang's actually dared to come to the Xianyuan family patriarch's. How could such a big immortal and behave allow new disciples to barge in? Inform the disciplinary hall master already suspicious? To bring people to arrest. Her expression changed. The hall master has already returned to normal. How is that possible? She took a deep breath. The man was forward to bow respectfully. They their sword cultivators. Sect leader. Not
Although
only the
we've never
disciplinary
joined an
hall
immortal
master
sect before,
but several
we've
soul
heard of the
formation
rules of
elders
each
also
sect.
went. We
But they
definitely
could
do
not
not
stop
dare
those
to go
two.
against them.
Sword
We're all
cultivators
here
from
to
the
seek
lower realm.
immortality and
Could they
seek
be?
the Tao. The
No
man's
matter
eyes
what kind
widened.
of test it
He
is,
paced back
we
and
will not
forth
be afraid.
anxiously.
Sect
Have
leader,
the 5
please
traveling
give us your
immortal patriarchs
instructions.
returned?
We will do our best.
No. They
There.
haven't returned
The
yet.
girls behind
The
you
man
Hong
became
also
even
bowed
more
to her
anxious.
and said in unison,
Of all times,
please give us your
quickly inform
instructions,
all
sect
the soul
leader.
formation
What was
cultivators
going
in
on?
the family.
It wasn't
to
Labor
come
Day.
over.
Did
And
they like
hold
to
those
work
2
so
sword
much?
cultivators back.
You really don't want to
Yes,
go back
master.
to your rooms to
The
rest?
disciple
No
immediately
need.
turned and
Are
ran
you
out.
sure?
The man
Yes.
became even
All
more
right.
anxious.
Shenning
He
sighed.
sent out a few
She
voice
walked over and
transmissions,
squatted in
but
front
there was
of you
no
Hong.
response.
With a serious
What's going
expression,
on?
she asked.
Why aren't any
Then,
of the 5
do you know how
traveling
to cook?
immortal uncles
Everyone.
responding?
Where did
Hence,
they go?
when Lone
Are
Moon
you
and
talking
Iching
about
came
them?
back, they
Suddenly,
saw 7 or 8
a female
girls
voice
squeezed
sounded
together
beside
inside his
his
ear.
working
The man
together
jumped
to
in
cook.
fright.
He
The
turned
corner
his
of
head
Loneman's
abruptly,
mouth twitched,
only to
he could
realize
not
that there
react
was
for a
someone
long
beside
time.
him.
It was as if he
Who are
was
you?
watching a festive
When did you
dinner.
stand here?
Didn't he come
He
back
actually
2
did not
hours
notice
late?
her at all.
What exactly
My
happened
name
in the
is
middle?
Shenning.
Why did the new
I
disciples
came with that
all
young
turn
man
into
just
chefs
now.
in the blink of
Shenning
an eye?
pointed in the
This was an
direction where the
immortal
disciple
cultivation
had gone.
sect.
Just
Not
now.
an immortal
How is that
cultivation
possible?
restaurant.
He clearly
Hey,
did not
for
see
all, for
anyone
all.
else enter.
Sect leader,
His heart
try
sank.
this sweet tofu
Suddenly
pudding
he thought of
first.
something.
See if it suits
You,
your taste.
you're in cahoots with
Yu
those
Hong
2
smiled
sword
and handed the
cultivators
bowl
who
in her
barged
hand.
over.
He took a step
Wait.
back warily.
Only then did he see that the
Just
woman
as
seemed
Shenning
to
was
be
about to
holding
take
onto a
it,
rope.
He
He
had
had
already
along the
taken
rope
a big
and
step
saw
forward
that there seemed to be
and rushed
something
over
tied up at
angrily.
the end.
Lone
The
Moon
woman
then
snapped
pulled
out of his
gently,
trance,
and instantly
his heart was
a string
filled
of
with human
anger.
figures were
He
pulled
quickly
out.
caught up.
Thud,
Yes,
thud.
Iching,
All of them
quickly tell
fell
me
to
about
the
your
ground.
unruly master.
Uncle. The
Master.
man's eyes widened.
Iching's face
Only
was
then
as
did he
black as the
realize
bottom
that
of
the
a
people
pot.
who were tied up
He
like
snatched the bowl
dumplings
from
on the
Yu
ground
Hong's hand and
were the
said
5
seriously,
traveling immortals
"You never
who
eat
had yet
sweet
to
tofu
return.
pudding.
Why
Yu
are
Hong,
you?
Lone
Who's
Moon,
that? You're their parent,
everyone.
right? Let's have a
Huh.
chat. You're a
Demoness,
newbie.
what did you
How
do
can
to
you
my
make
uncles?
sweet tofu pudding?
The man glared
Only
at her
savory
angrily.
tofu pudding
He
tastes
immediately summoned a
He
spirit
glanced at her
sword and
coldly
slashed at her.
and snorted as if
How
he had
dare you
lost
treat
his
the
temper.
people of my Xian
You don't
Yuan
even know
family like
master's
this.
taste.
I'll
and
kill
you dare
you.
to cook so
Master,
casually.
don't.
The 5
Master,
dumplings
wait a moment.
cried out in unison.
I'll make you a bowl
1
of
minute
savory
later,
tofu pudding
Shenning
right
used
away.
her sleeves to sweep the
Actually,
half-destroyed
sweet ones are
seat
also
and slowly
edible.
sat down.
She was a neutral
She scanned
party.
the rear hall.
Don't worry,
which
master.
looked like it had just
It'll
been
be
hit
quick.
by a typhoon.
Iching added
She casually
in all
stepped on the
seriousness.
chest of the
He glanced
Xian
at
Yuan
the dishes
family's
on the
patriarch,
table with a look of fear.
who was already swollen
After he
beyond
finished looking at
recognition.
each dish,
Now
his
can we
expression
talk?
relaxed and
Patriarch
he sneered.
Xian Yuan.
Humph.
The
You
5
dare
dumplings.
to cook such dishes for master to eat.
Chef,
Chapter
I think.
54.
Master,
Actually, it's
don't
very
let this
simple.
pig's food stain
I'm
your
not
noble
happy
body.
that your family would
I'll
go
make a
out
new
and
one
rob
for
other
you right
people's
away.
things.
There's no need
Shenning
for
said
that, right?
seriously.
No,
Shenning
you
said
have to
seriously.
change it. But
I
it's
heard
already
that you're the
made.
head of a vegetarian
Master.
family. She
Let
shouted.
me remind you,
all right,
if your
as
family
long as you're
members
happy.
do bad things,
She suddenly
you
felt
still
that
have to
Chef was a
educate
little
them.
fierce today.
What was a
Iching
vegetarian
then turned
family?
to look at the
He
people
was
in
the
the
head
kitchen.
of the family.
Suddenly,
not a parent.
it was as if a
What
gust
was with
of
the
cold
way she
air
was
had swept
talking to the
across,
traveling immortals,
causing the temperature of the
I've come
entire
back to tell you
courtyard
all
to drop
about
by
it.
tens of
She
degrees.
plucked the radish from her
Come
leg.
out.
Although
You have
it's
no
a
right
radish,
to
it
enter
has
my
an owner.
kitchen with this
No
level
matter
of
how
skill.
much you like
The
eating
moment he
vegetarian
finished speaking,
food,
I
the
won't give it
suppressive
to
force
you.
of a soul
It's useless
formation
even if you
cultivator
snatch it.
exploded out
Thousand Leaves
uncontrollably.
vegetation
There were
spirit.
even traces
The
of
family
sword
had
chi in
swollen
it.
eyes
The
opened
few
to
girls
slit.
were so
He
frightened
suddenly
that they
understood
retreated
why
out
the
of the
5
kitchen,
uncles did not
as if they were
return.
running for
Oh
their
my
lives.
God.
This Thousand
Master,
Leaves
please wait a
vegetation
moment.
spirit was hers.
He bowed and then
that was
quickly walked
terrifying.
into the kitchen.
I can't be
Before
bothered
he
to
left,
deal with you. He didn't
So I
forget
just
to
want to
use
tell
the
you
sword
seriously
energy around him
that if anyone
to destroy the
from
food
Xian
on
Yuan
the family
table
dares to
Humph, little
disturb my
bitch,
meals,
you're trying to
I will
steal
beat
my
you
master
up.
from me again.
You've already
Lone
beaten
Moon.
me up.
Do
Do you
you
all
all
understand?
understand?
Retard.
He
Suddenly
suddenly
had
had
the
the
urge
urge
to
to
break up. The few people on the ground shrunk back and nodded. Traveling Immortal 1. Chapter 62.
Yes, Great Immortal, we
Lone Moon
understand.
spent a
Great
lot of
Immortal.
effort before he
Traveling
managed
managed to pull back these new disciples. We will reflect on our mistakes, who seem to have gone down the wrong path. Traveling Immortal From 3. Now on, you are disciples of my invincible I will remember them by heart. He glanced at the group Traveling of girls who were still tightly wrapped Listening to Great Immortal's words is better than reading 10, 100 years and pointed to I Ching, Traveling finally finished cooking. No one will there are only great immortals in our cultivation now. Again. With his and my cultivation, anyone who disturbs you. It is enough to teach Head you. Of the Xian Yuan I hope family. That you will work hard in your cultivation immortal and reach the immortal path What soon. About you? Yes. Shunning suddenly everyone turned to look at him. Unison. Her murderous intent said a bunch of encouraging words. His whole body trembled in a low voice. Death, rising in the near future, You can
Cold
learn some
sweat poured
basic
down his
sorcery
back.
from me.
He squeezed out a
that
few
all
words
of you
with
already
all
have
his might.
cultivation levels.
Great immortal.
I need to know
It was
your
not that he
specific
did not want to
conditions
reply
before I can start
but that his
teaching
head
you.
was really
Tell me
swollen
what
to
you
the
have
point
learned
that he could
before,
not speak.
and what kind
Ouch,
of
it hurts.
cultivation techniques you have cultivated.
Shenning nodded, satisfied.
Everyone was stunned.
She patted
They
her
looked at
butt
each other
and got down
then
from
at
the
Yu
chair.
Hong, who was in
That's
front
all
of
meeting
them.
adjourned.
Yu Hong's
After
expression
saying
changed.
that, he
But
walked
she
to the door
immediately
and was
recovered.
about to go out.
She stepped forward and said,
GGGG.
reporting
Radish
to Immortal
suddenly
Master,
jumped down and bounced
we have
into
only
the
learned
hall.
some basic immortal
What?
spells to
Shenning
guide
looked
chi into our
confused.
bodies.
You want to
I
be
have
the
a
radish
fire
of the
and wood
vegetable
spirit
family?
root, and have only cultivated the spring flower
The radish
art.
jumped around
As for the other
anxiously.
sisters,
It looked into
let
the
them
hall
speak
and
for
then back at
themselves.
him.
Suddenly,
Lone Moon
it
interrupted
jumped
in a low
onto the
voice.
high platform that
They
she was
should
sitting
know
on
best
earlier.
what kind of
It waved
cultivation
its
techniques
leaves
they
and
have
reached
cultivated.
into the wall behind the
Yu
chair.
Hong was stunned.
After a while,
She turned back to
it
look
took
at
out
everyone
something and
then
raised it
stepped
towards
back.
her.
Yes.
GGG.
She gave everyone
The
a
expressions
meaningful
of the
glance.
6 people changed
And the women
instantly.
who hadn't spoken
Shenning
much
looked
stepped
down,
forward one
only
by
to
one
see a handful
and
of dried
reported the
leaves,
cultivation
pickled
techniques they had
vegetables.
learned.
Gigi,
Their voices were still
want
very
it.
low. And if it weren't for the
GGGG,
fact that
the
everyone
radish
present
nodded
was a
its leaves
cultivator
vigorously,
they wouldn't have been
Air.
able to hear
Shenning
them clearly.
frowned
And
I
turned
have
to look at the
cultivated
person beside
the water
her.
manipulation
That
art.
vegetarian
I have
parent,
cultivated
can you?
the light body
Yes,
technique.
yes.
I have
The family
cultivated,
head, who had finally
by
regained
one,
his ability
they finished
to speak,
reporting their
nodded
cultivation
vigorously.
techniques.
It is
and
the
immediately
Xianyuan
retreated
family's
behind
fortune
Yu
that
Hong.
great deity has
Lone
taken
Moon's
a liking
expression
to us.
darkened.
Oh,
He
thank
seemed
you.
to be hesitating
Radish,
about
come
something.
here. After a while,
the
he
radish
said,
jumped back.
I have a general
Shenning took the
understanding of your
dandelion off its
situation.
head.
It is
and
getting
handed
late.
it to the family
You can
head
start
on the ground.
cultivating tomorrow.
This should be useful
His
to
gaze
you.
swept to
Take
the
it as an
side.
exchange.
One of them was
Radish,
desperately
let's go.
eating, while
With
the
that
other
said,
was helping
she
to
walked
pass
out
the
the door.
bowls.
They even made clanking
The radish
sounds from
paused
time
and
to
looked
time.
at the person who
Lone
walked
Moon's
out.
mouth twitched.
Then at the dandelion
Hey,
in
can't
the
you guys at
corpse's
least
hand.
say a few words?
Then it made a sound.
Just whose sect was
Phooey.
this, hey?
You've got it
Huh.
easy.
Shenning
Then it
paused,
hopped
looking
out.
confused.
And as it hopped,
What did you say?
it let out a long
These
string of
disciples
sounds.
are new to the
G.
sect.
G.
As the
G.
sect leader,
The
don't you
Xianyuan
want to
family
understand
head.
the specific
He looked at the
situation of the
1,000 leaf
disciples
spirit flower
and
in his
test their
hand,
standards?
and then at the empty
Shenning
doorway.
looked at the crowd.
They left just like
then
that.
at Father Nyo,
Uncles,
whose face was full
Uncles,
of dissatisfaction.
I'm not dreaming, am I?
Although a few of their bones were broken,
Now that
and
he
they
said
lost
it,
some of their
it did seem
cultivation,
necessary,
but they were still alive.
What are you going to test
Not
me
a
on?
single one of them
Up to
died.
you.
That
Lone Moon
person
waved his
clearly had
hand.
the chance to make
Just
the
let them
Xianyuan
demonstrate.
family disappear.
All right.
From the
Then,
upper azure world.
Shenning put down
Why
her
did he
bowl
let
and
them go so
chopsticks
easily?
and walked over.
Is it
With
true?
a serious
One
expression,
of the traveling immortals
she walked
asked
past
still
everyone
in a daze,
and finally stopped
but
in
that
front
stopped
of
just
Yu Hong.
now.
He
Sister,
suddenly
do you have
remembered the withered
freestyle?
grass that the
Ah,
vegetation spirit had
what's
taken
big?
away.
Lone Moon.
Family head,
F
please
your
don't
sister.
mention this
Do
again.
you think this is a
The
talent
traveling
show?
immortal
Why don't
reminded
you just
him
let him
anxiously.
rap?
Family
Help.
head,
Help what's
you know
Sita.
that our original
Yu Hong
1,000
looked
leaves
confused.
vegetation spirit
Sect
lost
Master,
its
please
sentience
forgive me for
1,000
my
years ago.
ignorance.
Now
What do you
even its
mean?
body has withered
Master
and
is
died.
indeed
I don't think we
unfathomable.
can save it.
Yi Qing's eyes
That
lit
was
up.
why they were so
This
anxious
must be
to
some
find the
high-level
next 1,000
cultivation
leaves
technique.
vegetation spirit.
Master, can you say
Great
it again?
immortal is already very
Unfathomable,
kind
my
to
ass.
exchange this
Hey,
withered
hey,
grass
hey,
for
what
more
do you
than
mean by holding a
10,000
pen?
leaf spirit
This
flowers.
is a freaking joke,
What's
all right?
more?
What's
Qing,
more?
You're
She
a
spared
master.
everyone's lives.
Can you not forcefully
Apart
support
from
me
beating
when you're
him up at the
bragging?
beginning?
I see.
She had also
Yu
slapped
Hong
his
nodded.
face.
Please
She said
enlighten
she
me,
wanted to
sect
chat.
master. And she really
Huh.
did.
You guys
The
really
6 of them had
asterisk king
complicated
believed it.
expressions on their
Where's
faces.
your intelligence?
This person called
Air,
Shenning.
actually, I was
Who
thinking.
exactly was she?
Enough.
No matter
Lone
who
Moon
she
could
is,
not help but
if you
interrupt.
see her in the future,
He turned back
do
and
not
glared at
provoke her.
Shenning.
Even her
Shut up.
two-sword
Go and
cultivator
eat your
subordinates. Avoid her
Weren't
if
you the one
can.
who asked me to ask?
Everyone nodded
He
in
rubbed
agreement.
his forehead hard
The Xianyuan
and took a
family
deep breath
could not
to
afford
suppress
another
the
anger
anger
in
in
his
his
heart.
heart.
Something
That's
big
all
had
for
happened
today.
in the upper
Go and
azure world
rest.
recently.
We'll talk
It
about
was said that
cultivation
one of the
tomorrow.
4 aristocratic
With that
families,
said,
the
he took out
Xianyuan
a few
family,
tokens to
had
open the
offended
restrictions
two-sword cultivators
and
in
gestured
the lower
for them
realm.
to go to the
In the
residence
end,
on the
they
right
were
side
so
of the
angry
front
that
hall.
they chased them
Everyone
all the way
looked
to the
at Yu
upper
Hong
realm,
blankly,
and even
seeing
killed
her
their
nod,
way to the
they
Xianyuan
bowed and
family.
retreated.
The
So
Xianyuan
tired.
family sent
There's
out more
something
than
wrong
10
with this group of formation
people.
cultivators.
I Ching only
But none of
spoke
them
when
were
they
a
could
match
no
for
longer
them.
see them.
All of them were
Nonsense.
defeated.
Lone Moon
At that
turned
time,
back and rolled his
a
eyes.
few of the traveling
You
immortal
only returned
elders
to
of
your
the
Xianyuan
Xianyuan
family
when you
had
encountered
not
problems that
The
have nothing
Xianyuan
to do
family
with
suffered
Shening.
heavy losses.
Just now,
Even
three
the
of them
family
had
head
clearly
was
formed
seriously
their injured.
injured.
After
But
the
the cultivation
cultivators
techniques
they reported
all
were
the
only
soul
low
formation
level.
cultivators
Some of them
they
were
left.
even techniques
Although
that
they did not
itinerant
kill
immortals
anyone,
would not
the
cultivate.
Xianyuan family
Who would
had
believe
lost all
them?
faith.
It's obvious
Sword
that none of them
cultivators
were
could
telling
challenge
the truth.
people of a higher
He looked in the
cultivation
direction
level
in
than
which
them.
they left,
But it was
it
rare.
looks like they got into
What's
some
more,
trouble
the other
and
party
hid
was
here.
a soul
And it's
formation
not a
sword
small
cultivator.
problem. They
Traitors?
had challenged more
Or
than
escaped
10 soul
slaves?
formation cultivators.
Yi Qing frowned.
From one of
They
the
did
4
not look like
aristocratic
good people
families
at all.
the moment they came
They
to
must
the
have
upper
something
realm.
on them to
It
hide
was
their
obvious
auras.
how powerful
That's
their
why we
swords
can't
can't
see
see through their identities.
Even if they encountered
He
a
turned the
traveling
flute in his
immortal,
hand.
they might not be
But
able
they
to
can't
win.
hide for long.
How could they not
Maybe
be
we'll
shocked?
find out tomorrow.
Unfortunately,
Late at
they
night,
had chosen the
a
wrong
figure
target.
appeared under the
one
eaves
who
of a
had been
house,
humiliated was
looking
one of
around
the 4
nervously.
aristocratic families.
Sister Hong, the Xin
In the
Yuan
next
family.
moment,
The
8
entire
other people
upper azure
appeared in
world
front of
was
her.
waiting for a
They
good
quickly
show.
walked up to
When
her.
the traveling immortal
"You're here."
elders of the
Yu
Xin
Hong
Yuan
looked at the
family
crowd
returned
and counted
How
the
would they
number
give
of
back
people.
at the 2
Is
swordsmen?
everyone here?
But for
What
some
we
reason,
discovered.
3 months passed, and the Xin Yuan family
Sister
did
Yu
not
Hong,
make
don't
any
worry.
moves.
One of them
Moreover,
replied in a
ever
low
since
voice.
that day, the
We
entire
checked both the
family
front and
acted
back.
differently.
No one
They
followed
started
us.
to keep a low profile.
Apart from those 3 people,
even the disciples
there
who went
really
out
is
to
no
deliver
one else in this
elixirs were ordered
invincible
not to
sect.
cause any
That's
trouble.
good.
The
Yu Hong
upper
heaved
azure
a sigh
world
of
was
relief.
dumbfounded.
She still
Could it
looked
be
at the few of them
that
nervously.
the 2 sword cultivators
But we
were
can't
so
relax
powerful
too early.
that even
Don't
the
forget
traveling
that
immortal
this is the
elders
demon
of
realm.
the aristocratic
You saw those
families
high-level
did
demons
not dare
earlier.
to provoke them?
They're not something we can
Coincidentally,
handle.
A few
Everyone's
months ago,
expressions
2
darkened.
traveling immortals
Sister
of
Yu
the
Hong,
Xin Yuan
can
family
we really escape
had
to the
fallen
lower
in the
realm
Middle
safely?
Azure world.
Yes, it's
The
for
reason
sure.
for this was
Yu
hard to
Hong
fathom.
clenched her fists.
At that moment,
She did not know
all
whether
the
to encourage
cultivators in the
herself
upper
or
azure
the
world
others.
were excited.
We can even
The
escape
names of
from
the 2
Sky
sword
Severance
cultivators
Cliff.
from the lower
What's there
realm
to be afraid of?
became famous
We'll be
all
free
over the
once we
streets
reach
and
the
alleys.
lower realm.
And in
With
every
that
immortal's
person's
city,
protection,
they
we
became
can
a
start a
daily
new
topic
life.
of conversation
No one will dare
among
to
the
look down on
cultivators.
us again.
Fellow
As soon
Taoists,
as she finished
have you heard
speaking,
of the sword
everyone's
cultivators
eyes lit up.
Yi Qing and Lone Moon?
It was as if hope had
That's
been
right.
reignited.
They're the 2 who
That's
almost
right.
destroyed the
I heard
entire
that she
Xin
used to be
Yuan
like us a
family.
woman.
I heard that those
she will
2
definitely
people,
help us.
Shining,
But
who was sitting
there
at
were
the next
still
table,
some people who were worried.
After a while,
They asked
I
hesitantly.
suddenly realized
Sister
a
Yu
serious
Hong,
problem.
are we really
She
leaving?
stood up.
I don't
Lone
think
Moon heard
we
those
held
2
the cup on the
supremacies are
table.
bad people.
Hey,
What's
hey.
more, we're in
Why
the
did you
demon
suddenly
realm.
stand up?
Zhen Xiang,
Master, that old
Yi
thief
Qing
will
asked
not find his
seriously.
way here.
What's
What's
so strange
more,
about
those
it?
2
Shining
supremacies are
frowned
soul
and
formation
looked at the 2 of
cultivators.
them with a
They're
serious
sword
expression
cultivators
that she had never shown before.
What's wrong? Lone Moon's heart sank.
Chapter
Aren't we here to
63.
eat? Don't
That's
you feel
right,
that?
sword cultivators have
expression
always been
became
hard
even more
working
serious.
If we
She
stay
said
here,
word by word,
maybe we won't.
My
The
reputation
other
as a
woman
little
was
too
also
low.
a little shaken.
Lone Moon.
I also
Yi
heard
Qing.
that 2 sword
Look, I was
cultivators
the one who
broke
beat up
into the
that
Xin
parent,
Yuan family,
and I was the one who
and even the
kidnapped
Xin
those
Yuan
5
family
traveling
head could not
immortals.
do anything to them.
Why is it
They're
that
also
along
2
the
people.
way,
Do you
everyone
think
was
they're-
talking about the
See
2
you.
of you,
Yu
and
Hong's
not mentioning
expression
my
darkened,
name?
It
And she
doesn't make
interrupted
sense
her.
that my presence is
So
so
what
low,
if they are the
doesn't
sword
it?
cultivators
The 2
who
of them.
defeated the Xin
You
Yuan
only
family?
freaking realized
After
it now.
so many years, haven't you seen it clearly?
Chapter 55.
Not a single man can be
Master,
trusted.
Is
We
the
can't
sense of
take this
presence
risk.
that you speak of
He
very
saw
important.
that woman called
Yi
Shining
Qing
too.
asked seriously.
Why is it that the other
Shining
2 are
paused.
soul formation
Air,
cultivators?
not really,
But she
She
has
just
no
felt a little
cultivation at
aggrieved.
all.
Don't
you
worry,
think it's
Master.
strange? He stood
Yu
up
Hong's
directly.
expression
I'll go
changed.
and explain to them
She's
right
the
now.
sect master.
The person
But
who
I
fought
think
the
she's
Xin
just a
Yuan
joke.
family that
Maybe
day was
those
actually
2 are
master.
hiding something
We
and don't
actually
want
did
to
not
teach her.
enter the back
Or
palace
maybe
of
there's
the
something
Xin
else
Yuan
going
family
on.
at all.
Are you sure
With
that
that
people
said,
like that will
he
protect
turned to go
people like
downstairs
us
to
to
explain
explain
to the
sect?
people who were discussing.
Everyone fell
Come
silent.
back here.
What's
Lone Moon
more,
hurriedly
they're already
pulled him back,
suspicious of
frowning.
us.
Can't
Yu
you
Hong
brainless
said in a
man
low
calm
voice.
down?
That's
Do you think
why we have
people
to
will
leave
believe
quickly
you if you just say
I
that?
think the people chasing us in
Besides,
Upper
with
Azure
Shen
City
Ying's
have already
invisibility,
left.
Let's
Even if
take this
people
chance
believed
to
her,
find the contact
they would
person
forget about her in
and
the
send
blink
us
of
to
an
the
eye.
Middle Azure
Then,
world.
why don't I go to
Everyone
the Xin
nodded.
Yuan family
Everyone
and ask them
hide
to
your
come
aura
out
well.
and explain?
This is the
That
demon
way,
realm.
everyone
Remember
would believe
not
him.
to alert any
Che,
demons.
forget it.
Lone
Yu
Moon
Hong
rolled
checked
his
the
eyes.
array formation
The
on
Xin
each
Yuan
of them
family
and
has
said
never
in a low
mentioned
voice,
Shening.
Once
And
we
they
find the
insist
contact
that the traveling
person,
immortals
we'll
of the
be safe
family
once we
did
reach
not
Mingyin
return on the
Mountain.
day we went.
So,
Don't you
you're
understand?
going to find roasted chicken
Wasn't
gal?
it because they
A
could not
familiar
afford to
female
lose
voice
face?
suddenly
The
sounded
5
from behind
strongest
her.
traveling immortals of
the family were
jumped
beaten
in
up
fright
so
and drew
badly
her sword
that they looked
Only
like
then did she
grandchildren.
see the person in
If
front
the
of
whole
her.
Upper Azure world
Sect
knew
Master,
about this, they would
you.
lose face.
How did you?
The four
Everyone's
aristocratic
expression
families of the
changed,
Upper
and they
Azure
looked at
world
each other.
look like they are on
Where
good
did she
terms.
come from?
But in
None
reality,
of them had noticed her.
they are fighting each
When
other
did
both
you come?
openly and secretly.
Yu Hong's heart sank.
They did not say the
Since
whole truth,
Shenning
because
thought
they
for a
wanted
moment
to
before
protect
answering.
themselves. When you
Only
scolded
brainless
men,
people would tell
you
everyone
heard everything.
that all the experts of the family
Shenning
were
sighed
beaten
and
up.
pointed to the room
Li Qing
beside her.
frowned.
She
No,
said
I
seriously,
can't let people misunderstand,
little
Master.
Hong.
I don't
All
object
right,
to
put
the
away
two
your
of you
fan
whispering
logic.
to each other
Your
in the middle
master
of the
can't
night.
be cured, but you're
He
squatting
turned to glare
outside
at
my
Shenning.
window and talking
Control
to my
your brainless
bedside.
fan.
Isn't that
Shenning
a little
then
too
turned
much?
back and said,
She was about
Chef,
to sleep.
let's talk after we
Who is
eat.
little red?
Yes,
No,
Master.
the important thing
Li
is,
Qing then sat back
this
down.
is your room. The corner of
How could
Loman's
this
mouth
be?
twitched.
Yes,
He had
I've
said
been
so
staying
much,
here for a few
but
days.
he could not win against
Shenning
one
nodded.
sentence from her.
You,
For the
don't you live in the
101st
rear hall?
time. He
that's
regretted
just the
for
kitchen.
the first time.
Kitchen.
Why did he follow
What
these
F
two
asterisk
idiots
king
to the
kitchen?
upper azure
Which
world
sect would use
and
the
offend
entire
an
back
aristocratic
palace as a
family
kitchen?
in the heat of the moment?
What kind of sect
was
was
the
this?
future bleak?
Sister
He
Yu-hong,
sighed and
what
glanced
should
at a
we
certain
do?
someone who was
See,
still
tugged
eating
at
her
Yu-hong's
meal,
sleeve
as if
anxiously.
nothing had happened. Suddenly he remembered something.
They had wanted to sneak
oh,
out.
yes, Shening.
But now that they
when
had
you
been
were looking for
discovered,
their family
they
head,
would not be able
apart
to
from
leave if
settling
they
the matter of
attracted the
them
attention
fighting
of
for
the
the true
treasure.
soul formation
Did anything
sword
else happen?
cultivators. He didn't
Yu-hong
want to
also
stir up
thought
any
of
more
this.
trouble. She glanced
No.
at Shening,
Shening
gritted
tilted
her
her
head,
and
conjured
suddenly
a body
thought of
fixing
something.
seal.
She
and
looked
hit
up and
Shening's
took off the
chest.
pendant on her
Miss,
leg.
I'm sorry. Does the
With
radish
that
and
said,
pickled vegetables
she gestured
count?
for everyone
Salty.
to mount their swords
Holy
and
shit.
flew out of
Lone
invincible
Moon
sect
jumped
with
to his
Shening.
feet. Shening.
This,
Was she being assaulted
this,
on the chest?
with a look of disbelief
Yu-hong
on his
grabbed
face.
Shening. He
and
reached
let
out
everyone
to take
out
the
of the
pickles
demon
between the
realm.
radishes
Originally,
leaves to take a closer
she was
look,
a little worried
but the
that they would
radish's
encounter
claws
a
were
high-level
slapped away
demon.
by its leaves.
She did not know if they were
Gee,
lucky.
it can't
but
be
they did
you.
not encounter
Lone
a
Moon
single
turned to look
demon
at
along the
Shening.
way. Then
Even
looked
if they
around and
occasionally
whispered,
saw one or two
"That's not very
figures,
kind of you."
they would turn
All you
around
had
and
to
walk
do
in
was
another
beat them up
direction,
to vent your anger.
unexpectedly
Why did you have to
avoiding them
snatch the
smoothly.
Xianyuan
Just
family's
like that,
Thousand Leaves
they returned to
vegetation
Upper
spirit
Azure
as well?
Town unimpeded.
He's the lifeblood
Yu-hong
of the
found a
Xianyuan
secluded
family.
place
And
what
took
did
out
you
a
do
jade
to the
token.
Xianyuan family
She conjured
master?
a seal,
I
and the
wasn't
jade
the one who
token
took
emitted
it.
a beam of
The
white
radish
light
wanted
and
it.
flew into the sky.
Shening shrugged,
Within
and threw the
seconds,
pendant
it
to Lone
disappeared
Moon,
without a
ignoring
trace.
the radish's
Everyone
objections.
waited where they were for
Look
a
for
while.
it.
Soon they heard a male
Lone
voice.
Moon looked down at the
Are you the
radish in his
people who
hand.
want to go to the lower
Didn't
realm?
the Xianyuan
A
family
man walked
master
out
fight
from
to
the
the
corner
death
of the
with you
street.
just like that?
He looked young
Shening
and was
thought
at
back
the
to the
golden
corpse
corpse
in the
realm.
hall.
He was
Fighting
dressed
to
in
the
a black
death
robe.
Was a
And
little
his
difficult
small eye
for the
kept looking at the
Xianyuan
people
family
in front of
master.
him. The
That's
radish
right.
used its own
Yu-hong
dandelion
stepped
to
forward and
exchange for
said,
it.
According
Looked
to our
pretty
previous
happy.
arrangement,
How can that be?
we have brought enough
He-
spirit stones.
He looked
We want to
closely
go to
at
the
the
lower realm
vegetation
tonight.
spirit in the radish's
I've only
hand.
seen fiendish
Using his
cultivators
divine
go to the lower
perception,
realm.
He
This is
realized
the
that there
first
was
time
no
a cultivator
trace of
wants
any
to go to the
spiritual
lower
perception
realm.
in the spirit
The man
plant.
smiled.
The
and turned to
vegetation
count the
spirit
number of
had
people.
withered long ago.
He frowned and asked,
Connecting the dots.
"Didn't you say
He
9?
immediately
Why is there
understood
one
why
more
the
person?"
Xianyuan family had to
Yu-hong
snatch the
paused and
radish.
looked at Shening.
I see.
She's a
He
friend
looked
of
at the
mine.
reluctant
She's
radish
just
in his
sending
hand.
us off.
This little
She won't
thing
follow
must
us
have
to
sensed
the
the
middle
aura
azure
of one of
world.
its kind.
You've leaked the
That's
news
why
to
it wanted
others.
to take the
The
withered
man was
grass away.
furious.
He immediately
GGG.
summoned his
The
weapon
radish squeezed
and
out
was
of his
about to
hand
silence her
and turned to hang
We
back
can't
on
let others know
Shening's
about
leg.
this.
But Shening
Wait,
glared at it.
Yu-hong
Its
immediately
leaves
stood in
wilted
front of
instantly,
Shening,
and it
gritting her
retreated
teeth,
pitifully.
she said. But
She
what
doesn't
does it
know
want the
anything.
withered grass
I
for?
promise she won't
To
tell
bury
anyone.
it.
Lone
We can
Moon
add more
used his
spirit
divine
stones.
perception
With
to
that
scan
said,
the withered vegetation
she took out a bag
spirit.
of spirit stones
Apart from the
and
residual
handed it over.
spirit chi,
The man
the
stopped and
medicinal
opened the
value
bag.
of the withered
He took out a
leaves
piece
was not
and
even
looked at it
comparable
carefully.
to that of the
Only
dandelion.
then did his expression
be?
soften.
Could
He
it be
snorted
that it can
coldly.
revive this
Humph.
vegetation
On
spirit?
account of this bag
His
of
eyes
superior
brightened.
grade spirit
The more he
stones,
thought about
I
it,
won't do it
the
again.
more he felt that it
He
was
gave
possible.
Shunning a warning
They were
look and
both
said,
vegetation
"You
spirits
also
formed
know that
from
we
spirit
can't let the
chi.
aristocratic
They were the same
families and
existence.
immortal sects know
It
about
was normal
this.
that they could
Otherwise,
influence each other.
we won't be able to
As
get
soon
away
as he
with
said
it.
this,
We know.
Shun-ing and
Yu-hong
Yi-Ching
nodded,
could not help but
then,
turn to look at the
fellow
radish on the
Taoist,
table.
Can you send us
Gee,
to the lower realm
the radish's
now?
body
Now.
tilted, its face blank. Vegetation
He
spirit
laughed
plants
coldly.
have always been very
Only soul
resilient.
formation
Who
supremacies
knows,
can
it might
cut
really
through the
be able
void.
to revive
How
them.
can I have that
Really?
ability?
Shunning
The
leaned
array that
closer
connects the two
curiously.
realms is not
Try
here.
reviving them.
Follow me.
Gee.
With
The
that
radish
said,
responded.
he turned and
It
walked to
raised
the
the
right.
withered leaves on
Yu-hong
its head
hesitated
and looked at her.
She looked back
as if
at the
it
crowd
understood
and
what she
followed him.
said.
The
"Thank you,
withered
fellow
leaves stood up
Taoist."
again.
Indeed,
Only
GGGGG.
soul formation
It
cultivators
cried out
could cut
excitedly
through the void.
Suddenly,
and open
the
the
whole
passage
radish
between
began
the
to
two
grow
realms.
with a green light.
Other than that,
This is
the
vegetation
only way
chi.
to enter the lower realm was
Looks
through
like
the
it's
Yin
really
family's
possible.
transportation
Lone
array,
Moon was
or
overjoyed.
through the demon realm.
He stared closely
which
at the
was
radish on the
connected to
table.
the three azure realms.
This was the first time
But
he
to
had
them,
seen a revival
traveling
skill.
in the demon
The
realm
light
was
on the
too
radish's dangerous. His body grew brighter and brighter. Array in a short while, it had already enveloped its small cultivators from the lower horizontal line appeared on its white fat body. Family and the Yu family leaves on its head suddenly began to grow longer, would never let them spreading over its white fat body. It was not easy for her to find out that there were cultivators in Upper Azure City stirred a few times business between the withered vegetation spirit. That was why she came folded into a square shape. She had suffered so much along the way. Closer to the horizontal line. Now she finally saw hope. And then with thinking of this, it ate it. She turned to look at Shunning apologetically. It let out a familiar loud lowering sound. Her voice, she said, "Burp, Lone Moon. Don't worry, I Ching. We don't want to harm you. When we reach the array, I will remove the restriction on you and let you go. Aren't you a vegetation spirit? What restriction? You just need to absorb spirit chi. Why do you need to eat withered grass? Big grass eating small grass. Chapter 64. You're really something that the foodie Shunning picked up and carefully followed behind the man with her sister to turn it into a pickle. Equally happy. TCH, they passed through several streets, but for some reason, Indeed,
the more they
it
walked,
was a useless
the
vegetable.
livelier the surroundings
She was about to
became.
get up.
The man did not bring
Master,
them to a secluded
Iching
place,
suddenly let
but
out
to
a
an
cry.
even more
This
bustling
radish,
area in the city.
She
Finally,
turned around.
they stopped in
and
front
saw
of
that
the
the burping
magnificent
radish
mansion.
suddenly glowed
Her
red.
heart sank.
In an instant,
and she
it
instantly
turned from a white
recovered from the
radish
joy
to a
of
red
success.
radish.
She
Is this
immediately
ripe?
summoned her spirit sword.
It's going to
and attacked
transform.
the man in front
Lone
of her.
Moon was shocked.
You lied to us.
He looked around and
the man
said,
was shocked
the
and
spirit
quickly
chi here
retreated
is
more
too
than
messy.
100 feet
The
to the
wood
right.
spirit chi is too
narrowly
weak.
dodging her
It
sword
will affect
move.
its transformation.
Yu Hong could
There's
not
a
care
forest
less
in the
about
east
chasing
of the
him.
city.
She turned
Iching
around and
reminded,
shouted for everyone
"Let's
to
go."
leave.
Lone
But it
Moon
was
immediately
immediately picked up the
that
red
mansion
radish on the
suddenly
table.
opened.
The three
and a
of them
figure
summoned
flew
their
out from
spirit
inside,
swords and turned
with
to
a
fly
clang.
out. A
The
shopkeeper
shopkeeper
at the door smiled and walked out
everyone,
quickly, blocking
Three
their path
customers.
of retreat. Before he
Hung,
could finish
or is
speaking,
indeed my favorite
the three
disciple.
of them had already
You saw the
disappeared
problem
into
so
the
quickly.
horizon.
You
A
haven't
person
paid your
slowly
spirit
descended
stones.
from the sky. He was dressed in blue and had a
Chapter
long beard on his
56.
face. The three
He
of
looked
them
like a
arrived at
modest
the
gentleman,
forest.
and
The
his
moment
whole
they
body
landed,
emitted the
radish's
suppressive
body
force of a
glowed red.
nascent soul
Its
cultivator.
entire body began
Yu
to
Hong
stretch,
felt cold all
and the
over,
surrounding wood
as if
spirit
there was
chi
a chill
surged
seeping
towards
out
it.
from her bones.
Lone Moon hurriedly
Even the
set
other
up
girls
defensive
at the
and
scene took
spirit
a
chi
few
steps
steps back,
all around the forest,
trembling
The
uncontrollably.
radish's entire
Jin
body
Xiang,
had
you
turned
old
red.
thief.
Yu
And the
Hong
wood
gritted
spirit
her
chi
teeth
around it grew
and glared
thicker
at the
and
person
thicker.
in front of
The
her.
dense spirit
She
chi
thought
caused
that after
the trees
avoiding
within
his
a few
pursuit
meters
during
of
the
it to
day,
grow wildly,
he would definitely
encircling
send
it
people
and
to look
becoming
for them
denser.
elsewhere. The three
She
of
did
them
not
had no
expect
choice
that he had
but to
already
retreat
predicted
more than
that
10
they would
meters
come
away.
back.
At
And
this
even
time,
colluded with the
they could no
contact
longer
to
see
trick
the
them
radish's
here.
figure.
Perfected
All
one.
that was
I've
left
brought
was
the
an
people.
impenetrable
I
cocoon
can go
made
now.
of trees. The man
sky
who led the
suddenly
way back to
darkened,
Jin Xiang,
and lightning began
"Thank
to
you, fellow
flash between the
Taoist,
clouds.
for helping me catch
It's going
these
through a
traitors."
tribulation.
Jin Xiang
Lone
smiled
Moon
amiably.
reminded them.
You're
and
welcome,
set up an array
perfected
around
one.
the three of
The
them.
man smiled and
Indeed,
looked at
in the
everyone.
next moment,
If he had
there
known
was
that
a
they were
loud
from
rumble
the Yu
of
family,
thunder.
he would
White
not have
lightning tore
accepted
through the
this
clouds
business
and struck the tree
Fortunately,
cocoon below.
he did not really
instantly
send them
charring
to the
half
lower
of it.
realm.
But
He
the lightning
immediately
did not
lowered his
stop.
sword and left
Instead,
the scene.
it struck
He
one
did not
after
want to
another,
get involved with
getting
the
heavier and
matters
heavier.
of the
In less
aristocratic
than a minute,
families. The
Hung,
impenetrable
or why
cocoon
did you
had
do
been
this?
struck into pieces.
Seeing that they were far
a cloud
away,
of dust flew in the
perfected
middle,
one. Jin Xiang
obscuring
smiled
the radish's
even more
appearance.
amiably.
Originally,
Originally,
burnt
you
smell
helped me
wafted
sneak
through
into
the
Sky
air.
Severance
It was
Cliff
not
as
until
human
the lightning
cauldrons
struck
and
81
severely
times
injured
that the
old
clouds in the
monster
sky
Yumeng.
dissipated.
That was a great
and the
merit,
surroundings
and
became
would
bright
definitely
again.
be rewarded
The
by
ground
the main
was charred
family.
black.
Why did
and
he
there was
destroy
only
his
a
own
large
future
pit where the
and go
radish
to the
had
lower
been.
realm?
It's burnt.
If you don't return to
Shining
the
could
Yu
not
family
help but
after
ask
hurting
after a
that
long
demon,
time.
he won't
Master,
let you off.
it's fine, I Ching explained.
You make it sound nice.
Vegetation
Old
spirits
thief.
are not
If we
affected
hadn't
by the
escaped,
karma of the mortal
would you
world
have let us return
before
to
they
the
are
Yu
formed
family alive?
That's why the
Yu
lightning
Hong snorted
tribulation
coldly,
is the least
her hatred
harmful to all
exploding.
living beings. Sure enough, in the next
You are a
moment,
perfected
the
one
originally
from the Yu
scorched
family
black
side
ground
branch.
seemed to be
Yet
rejuvenated,
you have dealings with a
instantly
fiendish
turning into
cultivator
a
from
vast
Sky
expanse
Severance
of green.
Cliff.
If
In
just
just
half a
family
breath
knew
of
about
time,
this,
they
the
might
ground
not
was
let you
filled
off.
with
flowers that
Shallow
bloomed in
woman.
vibrant colors.
Jin Xiang glared
a
at
figure
her and
crawled
said,
out of the pit on
I'm
all
doing all
fours.
this to slay
It was a
demons
teenager
and protect
girl
the Tao,
who
to
looked
numb
to be
those
only
fiendish
15 or
cultivators.
16 years old.
She was dressed in green.
Yu Hong became
and her
even
long
more
hair
furious.
reached the
ground.
What do you mean
She
by
had a young
slaying
face,
demons and
she was
defending the Tao?
breathtakingly beautiful.
When have you ever done
She was like
anything
the most
righteous?
perfect
But he had
masterpiece
killed
of
a
heaven.
fiendish cultivator.
Even the flowers on
You
the
just
ground
casually
paled in
threw us,
comparison
the useless
to her beauty.
cauldrons,
Even
to the
Chi-Chi
sky
was
severing
not as
cliff to
beautiful
die.
as her. She looked
For a
straight at
moment,
him.
it
Her
was
eyes
as if
filled
the
with
sun
bone
and
deep
moon had
hatred.
lost their radiance.
What's funny is
The
that
only
we,
thing
the
left in
useless
the world
cauldrons,
was the
not
person
only
walking
did we not
slowly
die
towards them.
we even did
The
what
three
you
of
could
them were
not do.
stunned.
We
Even
even
their
their
breathing
breathing
stopped
stopped
for a
demon.
moment.
Didn't
They
you
were
chase
shocked by
after
the
us to make
appearance of the
people
spirit
think
chi
that you
of
were the
heaven
one who
and
did it
earth?
and not us?
His faint
The
smile was
cauldrons,
like the blossoming
so
of
that you would be
thousands of
valued by
flowers,
the main family?
and the sound of
Shut
stringed
up.
instruments
Jin Xiang's
lingered in the
expression
ears.
contorted for
Little
a moment.
Missy, I'm transforming.
You're full of nonsense.
Aya.
It's clear that you betrayed the
Before he
sect,
could finish his
and
words,
you even
he
planned to
suddenly
go to the
stumbled. lower realm. His beautiful figure trembled with the fiendish directly to the ground. Today, rolling all the way to the feet from committing a grave mistake. The three of them were speechless. Exactly is allied with the fiendish cultivators. Hear the sound of something shattering. Yu Hong directly tore her own sleeve. As expected, her right hand was covered with scars of all sizes. Little Missy, they looked like old wounds. It raised its head, but the flesh on her hand was reached out to hug her thigh out of habit. Very frightening. Shenning frowned and took a step back. Name. Get out of my way. She said not angrily. Even comparable to cauldrons. Shenning nudged the injuries on our bodies. Is it a boy or a destroyed girl? Meridians? How would I know? Broken spirit bones. Lone Moon looked at the radish carefully. Which one of them was not caused by you? Plants and the plants are mostly genderless. Everyone
After
took
they
off their long
transform,
gray robes.
they can probably be
without
either
the cover
male
of
or
their
female.
dharma robes.
Transvestite.
The 8 people present
Shening
revealed their
paused
original
and took another
appearances.
step back in disgust.
All kinds of horrifying
The radish was
scars
stunned,
crawled all over
and
their
its whole
bodies.
body wilted like
Somewhere
a
on their
frosted
hands,
eggplant.
somewhere on
Tears
their
welled
feet,
up in its eyes,
and some were even on
and
their
it looked
faces.
nothing like before.
There were already
the
so
corner
many
of
visible
Loman's
on their
mouth
skin
twitched.
and muscles.
Looking at the
It was
person on the
obvious
ground
that there
who
were
was
more
still
under
looking
their
at them with
clothes.
tears in his eyes.
You adopted
He
us since we
explained.
were young.
He just
But you did not
transformed
teach us
and
orthodox
is not
sorcery.
used to walking.
You only
That's
taught
why
us the
he's like
sorcery
this.
that only
He'll be
cauldrons
fine
would
in 2
learn.
days.
You treated
With
us
that
like
said,
objects and
he could
forced
not
us
help
to
but
help you
step
test your
forward
skills
and reach
to
out
pay
his
for your
hand.
poison.
Get
After
up.
we died,
The radish's
you would
eyes
refine
turned
us
cold.
into elixirs.
With a smack,
The more
it
you
slapped
slapped
his
spoke,
hand
the
away
more
and
hatred
said
she
loudly,
felt.
"Get
Her eyes
lost,
grew
ugly."
redder.
With
You
that
threw
said,
us to
it
sky-severing
continued
cliff,
to look at
only
Shening
because
with
our
tears in its
foundations were
eyes.
damaged by
Wah
your
wah.
cultivation
Radish
technique.
needs little Missy
We
to
could no
carry
longer
him
be used
before
by
he
you to
can get
refine
up.
elixirs.
Shening.
She took a step
I
forward.
Ching.
Do
The
you
corner
really
of
think
Loman's
that we
mouth
don't know that
twitched.
you killed us
2
just to
seconds
hide the
later,
fact that you are
"Damn it,
cultivating a
I'm going to
fiendish
cut you up."
technique?
Jun
He
Xiang's
directly pulled out
expression
his
was as
sword
black
and
as
rushed
the bottom of
forward.
a pot.
Supremacy
He no longer
Neo calmed
looked like
down.
a gentleman.
I Ching hurriedly stepped forward and stopped him.
His gaze towards
just
Yu Hong was
transformed
filled
in a
with
stillatorous
murderous
intent.
intent.
It's normal
His
for
voice
him
was
to
also
not
several
understand
times
human
colder.
emotions.
He raised his
You don't
hand
have to
and
take
summoned
it to
his
heart.
weapon.
Who would
Since you
believe
all
that?
know so clearly,
This radish was
all the more
obviously
I
doing
cannot
it
let
on
you leave
purpose.
today.
And what
With
the
that
hell
said,
was this
he
supremacy
turned his
Neo?
hand, and the
I
Dharma
Ching could only
artifact
turn
in
to
his
look at
hand
the
flew
radish.
towards Yu Hong
Radish,
with a murderous
just now
aura.
Yu Hong
Che.
only felt
The
a
radish
huge
snorted
pressure
coldly.
coming towards her.
Another shameless
She gritted
follower.
her teeth
I Ching.
and activated the
Swish.
golden core in
Another
her body.
sword was pulled out.
Even if she had to
The next
sacrifice
moment,
herself,
What?
she had to buy
What are
time
you
for
trying
the
to
people
do?
behind her to escape.
I'm little Missy's radish.
Suddenly, she
Stop,
felt a
help.
weight on her
Little
shoulder.
Missy.
The
Shening.
spirit chi that she activated dispersed.
King retard.
Someone
This
beside her
one-sided
took a step
2-on-1
forward.
fight went on
Wait a
for
minute.
a whole 15
Shening
minutes.
suddenly
The
reached
two
out
only
and grabbed.
stopped when there was
In
no
the next
longer
moment,
any unscathed
that
skin
menacing
on the
Dharma
radish's
artifact
newly
was caught in her
born face.
hand.
The
It was
radish
actually
covered
a
its
copper
swollen
bell.
face.
Jun
and
Xiang was
pitifully
stunned.
shrunk back
It was
to
as
its
if he had
original
just
form.
realized that
The
there was
originally
someone
white
else in
and
the
plump
crowd.
radish had
His
already
Dharma
turned
artifact
purple.
was actually
Little
so
Missy.
easily
The
controlled by
radish
the
did
other
not
party.
give up and
Yu
reached out to
Yu
Shening
Hong was
with
even
its
more
leaves.
shocked.
Feeling very
Wasn't she
aggrieved.
under a
But I
restriction?
Ching directly
Why could
lifted
she
it
still
up.
move?
Shening
Master,
looked directly
what
at
do you
Jun
think about
Xiang and
making
said,
radish soup tonight?
"Well, what's your relationship
How can
with
soup
that?
taste as good
Gone
as
and
stir-frying it?
ding those 2
Lone Moon
scumbags."
shook his sore hands.
Gone.
He was stunned.
I think
His
we
eyes
should cut it
widened.
into strips.
You mean
or
gone
fry
your way
it,
and you
or
ding?
even fry it
I know
raw.
them.
Shin
Shin
Ying's
Ying's
eyes
eyes
narrowed.
You're just jealous
That's
of my
right.
beauty.
Her figure
Hey,
flashed.
that's enough
and
from
in
the
the next
two of you.
moment,
She
Shening
was
rolled her
already
eyes.
standing in front
Was
of
it
the
fun
other
to bully
party.
a vegetable?
Sorry,
Didn't
I
he
hate
say we're going
scumbags.
to that whatever
As
city?
soon as he finished
Upper
speaking,
Azure City.
he felt his collar
Lone Moon
tighten.
took a step
A
forward.
huge force pulled him
Usually,
directly to the
people
ground.
who enter the
In
Upper
the next
Azure
moment,
world from the
a fist
lower
came
realm
crashing
will
down
go to Upper Azure
with a loud
City
bang.
first.
All
Jun
the big
Xiang's entire
aristocratic
body was
families
punched
and
into the
sects
ground.
will recruit
It was
disciples
the kind
there.
that could not be
We've
dug
just
out.
arrived
and
don't
following
know
that,
much about the upper
ground
realm.
rumbled and the
It's good
mountains
to go there
shook.
and find out
It was
more.
as if an earth
As he
dragon
spoke,
had
he
passed
pointed
through.
to the right and
From
said,
the place where Jun
"When we were
Xiang was
eating
buried,
earlier, I asked
the
around.
entire ground
Upper
began to
Azure
crack.
City is not
The
far from
streets were
here.
overturned.
We'll reach it
The
after
buildings were
passing through
tilted
this
and
forest.
dust flew everywhere.
Oh, then let's go."
In an instant,
Shening waved
the
her
entire
hand,
Upper Azure City
indicating
was
for
torn
I
into
Ching to
pieces
summon
by
his
the
spirit
huge
sword.
cracks.
The
Three
three
of
of
them
them
were about to
The
fly up
entire
on their
place was
swords when
silent.
suddenly they
The
heard
9
an
girls'
angry
eyes
roar
widened.
from behind.
They did not regain their
Stop right
senses
there.
for a long
Shening
time.
faltered.
This was
The next moment,
Master.
more than 10
I'm not dreaming,
cultivators
right?
flew out of
Didn't
the
they
forest
say that
and
she had no
surrounded them.
cultivation?
2 middle-aged
Destroying
men
the
walked out
entire
of the
city
crowd.
with one punch?
One was dressed
Her
in a blue
cultivation
robe,
must be
the other in a
heaven-defying.
green robe.
A while later,
Both of them had
let's
3
go.
copper coins
Shening
embroidered
patted
on the
her
corners
sleeves
of
and
their
turned
robes.
around calmly.
They looked at the
Before
3 of them
everyone could
angrily.
react,
She
the
said
man in
mechanically,
green held an abacus in his hand.
Go where?
It looked a
What
little
exactly
familiar.
happened just now?
Who
You've
were
really
they?
made it hard
Where
for
were
me
they?
to find you.
Go to that
The
way middle-aged man in green took a step forward and swung the abacus in his hand. Don't we still have to deal with that old man beside him? Anyway, we can buy one get one free. These are the people who dined and dashed at Drifting Fragrance Restaurant. Let's go, let's go. As she spoke, she jumped over from the other side of the crack. Chapter 57. Dine and dash. Just now. Let's hurry. Wonder this person we can still familiar. Make it back in time for breakfast. He was the shopkeeper of the shop. Everyone. Just now. That's a demonic face darkened. Don't make it sound like you're buying cabbage from Lone Moon angrily. Oh, underscore. Why are you looking at me? Lone Moon's face darkened too. He was too worried about that dead radish that he forgot. Chapter 65. And something big had happened in the Upper Azure world recently. Lone Moon stepped forward awkwardly. Soul Formation Fiendish Cultivator this was the first time in his 2 lives that he did not pay for a meal and was chased under him. It was
who
too
had a blood
embarrassing.
debt were wiped out.
Cough. It was
In
our
just
mistake.
one night,
We
the
were in a
Sky
hurry to
Severance
leave and
cliff.
forgot to pay.
The Devil's Den
We'll
that
make
had
it up
plagued
now.
the Upper Azure
How many
world for
spirit
so long,
stones did that
and
meal
which
cost?
even the 4 aristocratic
pretending.
families could not do
The
anything
shopkeeper
about.
glared at him
was
and said
completely
angrily,
wiped out.
All the
The terrain of the
cultivators saw it
Sky
just
Severn
now.
cliff was
The
dangerous.
3 of you ran away on
It was
purpose.
easy to defend
If I
and
didn't
difficult
chase you
to
today,
attack.
would you
It was
come back
also
to settle
located
the
at
bill?
the edge of the Mirage
Air.
Sea,
Loman's
where
face
Inchi
turned
lingered
red.
all year round.
He felt even more
Outside the
embarrassed.
Devil's Den,
They really did not
there was
remember
an
to
gathering
pay.
array.
You want to
that
settle
was
it with
specially
just
set
one
up
word?
to deal with
It's
immortal
not that easy.
cultivators.
The meal
The
you
4
just had was
aristocratic
made with
families
spirit rice,
and the various
it
immortal
cost at least
cultivation
10
sects
inferior grade
had
spirit
repeatedly
stones.
tried to deal with this
I've seen
nest
too
of
many
devils,
people like you,
but they were
you won't shed a
obstructed by
tear
the
until
Inchi
you see
and
your
the
coffin.
surroundings.
If I don't
They
teach
couldn't
you a
attack the
lesson,
Sky Severn
won't
cliff
everyone
at all,
dare to
and
come
had
to
to
my shop
retreat.
to eat and drink
Over
for free
time,
in the future?
that place became
With
a
that
shelter
said,
for
he waved
many
his
demonic
hand.
cultivators.
The people surrounding
It was
him
truly
all
a
drew their
devil's den.
weapons.
Who would have
Wait,
thought that it would be solved
shopkeeper,
so
let me
quietly
explain.
this time? They really
Even
just
the
forgot.
gathering array
Lone Moon
around
was
the
a little
Sky
Severn
anxious,
cliff was
but he was in
completely
the wrong
destroyed.
and could not do
No
anything.
one could say for sure
Let's
who
talk
had
this
conquered
out.
this Devil's
Hey,
Den.
say something.
But the word
Lone Moon
invincible
turned back to
was
look
left
at his
on the
companions
stone wall
who ran
of the
away.
Sky Severn
Shen
cliff.
Ying and I
For a
Ching
time,
tacitly took
there
a
were
step
many
back
different opinions
and turned their heads away.
Some people said
Holy
that the
shit.
4 aristocratic
These people have
families
no
finally
sense of
could
loyalty.
not stand the provocation
That
of Sky
he
and
could
Cliff.
only bite the bullet
So
and
they
say,
joined forces
"How
with
about
many
this?
traveling
I'll
immortals
pay double
to
the
attack
amount
the
of
Devil's
spirit
Denver.
stones for that
Some
table
said
just
that the
now."
devil had offended
Double.
the great
The
demons of
shopkeeper's
the demon
expression
realm.
became a little
Demons
better.
were not afraid
He
of
scanned
Inchi,
Lone Moon from head
so they
to
could
toe,
deal with them,
and then
Some
gestured
even
for everyone to
speculated
put
that
away
it
their
might have been
swords.
done by some
Are you
reclusive
serious?
master.
Yes,
As for the word
He
invincible,
directly took out his
it was
spirit
just
stones.
to warn the demonic cultivators
Shopkeeper,
not
please
to
don't
be too
blame us.
arrogant. We really
However,
forgot.
all of these were
Good.
just guesses.
On account of
Be
your
it the
sincerity,
various immortal sects,
the shopkeeper
or the 4
calmed
great
down and
families.
continued.
No one
This
came out
shop
to
is
answer
not
this
unreasonable.
question.
Lone
I will
Moon and
accept
I
your
Ching
spirit
heard the
stones.
news while they were on
He
their
took
way
the
to
bag
look for
of
you
spirit
Hong.
stones and
They
suddenly
sensed at the
thought of
moment Yu
something.
Hong
You
and
look
her
like
group left the
cultivators
sect from the upper realm.
Although he had guessed
I'll
that there
spare
was
you this
something
time.
wrong with these people.
The next
He didn't
time I see you
expect them
eating
to
and
leave in
dashing,
such a hurry.
it won't be so
Lone
simple.
Moon didn't want to care
Yes,
at
yes,
first.
yes. If
Lone
they
Moon
left so
nodded
vigorously, they could
This was
recruit
too
more
embarrassing.
people. But I Ching
Right,
found
what's your
that.
name?
Shening
Lone
was
Moon
gone
froze.
too.
Was he
Without
going to be
Radish to lead the
blacklisted?
way,
A moment
they had
later,
no choice
she
but to
answered
go out
crisply,
and look for him
"My name
when
is
they thought of
Shening."
that person's poor
Shening.
sense of direction.
Mother
In the end, it
Asterisk
was
her.
really strange.
Shen as in 3
He had
dots
clearly
of water.
followed the aura
Ing
of
as
that
in
group of
fluorescent
people all
light.
the way here.
Shening.
But he just couldn't
turned
find
to
them.
look at the other
It
person.
wasn't until they
What
noticed
about
the
you?
strange phenomenon in Upper Azure
Ching
Town
stiffened.
that they knew where he
Radish.
was.
How
In
do
the
you name
end,
a dish?
after searching
The
the city
shopkeeper
for an
frowned
entire night
and turned to
he
look
heard
at
the
Shening.
news the next day. Then you forget it. It's not important. Let's
When
forget
the two
about
of
it
them
this
hurried
time.
back to the
Let's
sect.
go back. They found
With
a
that
certain
said,
someone
he
sitting
waved his
calmly in
hand
front of a
and flew
stone
away
table
with more
at
than
the
10
back of the hall.
cultivators.
A group
The
of
3 of
girls
them,
dressed in
a
various
moment
colors
later.
surrounded him.
Why are you looking
asking
at me?
about his well-being?
Weren't you the one who ate
Sect
the
leader,
most just now?
What do you think of the
What's
dumplings?
wrong with using her name?
Does it suit your taste?
I can't tell him my real name.
Sect
Can
leader,
I?
try this
Didn't
lotus
I Ching
seed change
soup?
his name to
I
Radish
used
too?
spirit fire to boil
Don't worry, don't
It's
worry.
really fragrant.
With your invisible
Sect leader,
presence,
my
they
soup
won't
dumplings
remember
are
you.
cooked.
Lone
Do you
Moon
want to
patted
try
his
them?
chest and promised.
Sect leader.
However,
How
3
about
hours
drinking
later,
my freshly
Upper
made
Azure Town,
soybean milk?
half of the
Sect
shops on the
leader,
streets
Lone
had the
Moon.
same wooden sign
For all.
hanging high in
Google,
front
what
of
the hell?
them. On
Were
it
they
was a line
filming
of
a
golden
culinary
words
show?
that blinded the eyes.
Why was it that every time
Shening
she
and
came
dogs
back,
are not allowed
she
to
could
enter
turn
everyone around
Shening.
her into chefs.
Lone Moon.
This
I
is
Ching.
outrageous.
MMP.
I Ching
Didn't he
quickly
say he
walked
would be
over
fine?
and blocked the
Upper
crowd.
Azure Town was
The
an
dumpling
immortal
city
city
in
too
the south
thick.
of the Upper
The
Azure
lotus
world.
seed soup is too
This
thick.
city was
And the
located
soup
at the edge of
dumplings
the
are all
various
leaking out.
powers.
I
And
don't
did
know
not
if this
belong to
soybean
any
milk is
aristocratic
drinkable.
family or
You
sect.
actually have the
It
face
was
to
one
bring
of the
it to
few
master.
neutral immortal cities.
This is simply
The
tarnishing
city
my
was full of
sect.
people. Do you want
As
to join
long
in
as one
too?
was a
You brainless
cultivator,
fan.
one could enter.
For all.
It was
very
very
lively.
lively.
Most of the
corner of leaders who had just ascended to the upper Azure world, pulled a certain someone out of the crowd to join the aristocratic families. What the hell is going on? Would come to the city to find out more. Shenning put on an innocent expression. Asked around in the city, "Master, I'm going to roughly understood the situation waved his upper Azure world, and instantly swept away all the rumors on the lower realm. He rushed into the kitchen. Immortal cultivation powers in the upper Azure world. There was really no saving a brainless aristocratic families. What did you do last night? Besides the Xian Yuan family, I went to fight. Famous for their alchemy. She was really the one who did that. There was also the Yu family, famous for their talisman arrays. He pointed at the group of girls around her who had left but returned. And the richest family, this time, the Yin family. Before Shenning could answer, family controlled more than half of the spirit and stone mines. More than half of the shops in Upper Azure saved our lives to the and even helped us take revenge, including the shop where they dined and dashed. We wanted to do something to finally understood why all the shops in the city hung the same sign. The way they looked at Shunning was no longer as guarded as yesterday. Each had their own strengths. Instead, and
Their
were
eyes were
equally frighteningly
powerful.
bright.
Besides
Just
the main
like those
family,
crazy fans
there
who
were
would
also
lick their
various
screens.
big and small
Everyone
branch
began
families.
to recount
They
last
controlled
night's
more than
events one after
70%
another.
of the immortal
yes,
cultivation
Shining
resources
suddenly added.
in the upper
That
Azure
scumbag
world.
knows the two
Although
people
there were
who
very
bullied
few
roasted
people who
chicken
could
gal.
successfully
You
ascend
mean?
to immortality.
Lone Moon paused.
Most of them
then
came
understood
from the
what she
four
meant.
aristocratic
So
families.
the person behind the
What's
jade
more,
tripod
the
was a
aristocratic
perfected
families
one
were
from
very
the
powerful.
family.
They
No
each
wonder
had dozens
Gonzirwei
of
could
soul
hide in
formation
sword
experts
comprehension
and
peak
4 or
back
5
then.
traveling
He
immortals.
suddenly understood
The
what
rest
these
were
people
some
had been
immortal
through.
cultivation
Lone
sections.
Moon turned to look at
Although
the crowd.
they occupied a
After a
spirit
while,
vein
he said
and
in a
had
low
many
voice,
disciples,
"Forget it.
They were not
On
strong
account of
enough
the
to
fact
compete
that you are
with the
all
aristocratic
victims.
families.
I cannot be calculative about you
The
sneaking
strange
into
thing
my
was that there were
invincible
very
sect.
few itinerant
Now that the matter
cultivators
has been
in the upper
resolved,
Azure world.
you can go wherever
because of
you
the
want to go.
aristocratic families. Except for some dangerous
Supremacy,
places or places
we had originally
with thick
planned to
chi.
go to Ming-Yin
There were
Mountain
very few
in the
places
Middle Azure
in the upper
world.
Azure world
Yu
without
Han
an owner.
explained,
Regardless
Ming-Yin
of whether
Mountain
they were
fiend
born in the
venerable is
upper
different
Azure
from
world
other fiendish
or came up from the
cultivators.
lower realm.
Although she
They would
cultivates
all
fiendish
choose to join a
cultivation,
power.
she has
As a
never
result,
done evil.
Shen
The
Ying and
same
the
goes
others
for
were
the
in an
people in
awkward
her sect.
situation.
I heard
Given
that
our
she
current
once had the same
situation,
experience as
it's
us.
not suitable
She
for
took
us
in
to
many
join
girls
any
like us.
aristocratic family.
But our identities are
Lone Moon
special.
frowned.
I don't know if
Shen
she
Ying's
will.
reputation
I
for
see.
dashing and
Shen
dashing
Ying
aside,
suddenly seemed to have
after
thought
the
of something.
Xin Yuan family's
Father
incident,
Niu,
he and I
do you have
Ching
a pen
became
and
famous.
paper with you?
But the 4
Why?
aristocratic
Lone Moon
families were
frowned,
originally
but
in
he
a
still
balanced
waved his
situation.
hand to summon a
If
pen
they let
and
them
paper
join,
from the stone
they
table.
would be going against
Shen
the
Ying sat
Xin
down
Yuan
again
family
and scribbled a
and
few
the other
words.
sects would not
Then,
dare to
she
openly go
folded the
against
paper
them.
in her hand
It's
and
not
handed
easy
it
to
to
survive
Yuhan.
in this world.
This is for
Unless
you.
the Xin Yuan
Roasted
family
chicken
is
gal is
stupid
quite
enough to
familiar
invite
with
us
us.
back.
Give
No
this to
matter
her.
if it's a sect
She
or a
should take you
family.
in.
They
She
won't
was
be
stunned
able
for
to
a
tolerate
moment.
us. And her face was
Why
blank.
must I join?
Roasted chicken
Shen Ying
gal
asked,
is Ming-Yin
Can't I
Mountain
cultivate on my own?
teaching you. This place
Aren't
is
you going
different
to
from
the
the
Middle
Middle
Azure
Azure world
world
to look for her.
The
The
aristocratic
aristocratic
families
had to explain
have
again.
always been
He
merciless
turned to
to
glare at a
fiendish
certain someone.
cultivators.
If you
Can't
want
you
to
have
find
a
a
freaking
place
name
with
that you can
abundant
remember?
spirit chi to
A look of
cultivate,
surprise
you have
flashed
to
across
use the
Yu
name
Han's
of a
face.
sect or
She looked
aristocratic
at them
family.
with a faint sense
Otherwise,
of disappointment.
you will be treated
She
as
turned
a fiendish
back
cultivator
and exchanged a look
That's
with
why
the
there are
girls
almost
behind
no
her.
itinerant
Gritting her
cultivators. She
Oh,
seemed to have made
in
a
other
decision.
words, he needed
The
to
9
hang
of
a
them
card.
took a deep breath.
Otherwise, he would
and
be an
suddenly knelt
unregistered
down in front
demonic
of them.
cultivator.
Sect master,
Then let's set up
please
our
take
own.
us in.
Establish
Sect
one.
master.
Lone Moon was
Without
shocked.
waiting for them to speak,
Master,
Yu
are
Han
you
raised her
talking
head
about
and
establishing
said,
a sect?
after what happened
I
yesterday,
Ching was also shocked.
we understand that
Yeah.
no matter how
She
strong the
nodded.
protection
Wasn't
is,
it just finding
is
a
only
place to land?
temporary. Rather
Only
than
by becoming
relying on
stronger
others,
ourselves
it was
can we
better to
change our
rely on
fate.
oneself.
Ming-Yin Mountain
Or did
may
he
be
need to
good,
go through some
but we are
procedures
still
or
immortal
business
cultivators.
license? Unless we
Build a
disperse
sect
our
with just the 3
cultivation
of us
and start
Don't
from
joke
scratch,
around.
we will
Lone
forever
Moon
be
rolled
stuck
his eyes
here.
at her.
Instead
How
of
can it be
living
so
in
easy
fear
to
and
establish a
trepidation for
sect?
the rest of our
Do you
lives.
really think you can open
Why
a
don't we
shop
work
as long
hard
as
to
you have
cultivate
money?
and fight for
Let's
a
not
way
talk
out?
about anything
We've
else.
never done anything
We have to have a
evil.
territory.
So why can't we
The
live in this
spirit
world
veins
with
in the
dignity?
upper Azure world
We also want
are
to be like
mostly
sect
occupied
master,
by the
so
aristocratic
strong that
families
no one
and
dares to
sections.
bully us.
Where are we going
We
to
have
find
nothing to
spirit
be
veins?
humiliated about,
Unless we go
and
back
nothing
to
to
the
be
Middle
afraid
Azure
of.
world.
Sect master's
Besides,
cultivation
it was
is
not that
profound.
easy to find
Even
one
if
in
we
the
can
Middle
learn a
Azure world.
10,000th of your skills,
Without spirit veins,
it will be of
there
great
will be no
benefit to
spirit
us.
chi.
Without
Previously,
spirit chi, we had
how
eyes
can
but
there be
failed to
spirit
see and
plants
offended
and
the
spirit
sect
beasts?
master.
Without
No matter
these,
what
how can we
punishment we
cultivate?
receive,
He
we are
looked at the
willing to
radish
accept
beside
it.
him.
Please
Which had
allow us
already
to
returned
officially
to its
enter the
human
sect.
form.
From
We're just
now
a
on,
radish.
we will work
Although
hard
it's a
to
treasure,
cultivate and
and
bring
we can
glory
find
to
all the
invincible
spirit
plants
sect.
in the world.
Sect master,
Most of the
please
upper
accept
Azure
us as
world
disciples.
belongs to the aristocratic
As soon as
family.
she finished speaking,
It grows on
everyone
their land.
spoke in unison.
Sect
Even
master,
if you know where
please
it is,
accept us
you
as
can't
disciples.
just go and pluck it.
Eight clang.
Shen Ying turned
Before
back
Shen
to
Ying
look
could
at the
answer,
obedient radish.
the sound of something
Is
shattering
radish
came
very
from
important?
behind. Of course. Lone Moon explained, a
figure
Let's
flew
not
out from the
talk about
kitchen.
alchemy first.
Sword chi surged
Wherever
all
there
over
are
his
plants
body,
or spirit
causing the
plants,
houses in
the
the back
spirit
hall
chi
to
is
collapse
many times more
no.
than in other places.
Spirit veins are also formed because of this. No cultivator doesn't
Chapter
need
66.
spirit chi.
It was
So vegetables
nighttime.
were so
Xining
important.
could not resist
As long
the
as there are
invitation
more
of
radish
Zhougong.
fields,
Her
it will be
eyelids
enough.
closed inch by
You can
inch.
say that.
Just as she was
I've thought
about
of
to
a
fall
very
asleep,
suitable place.
she suddenly
Xining
opened
said
them.
seriously.
She looked at the bright
What?
moonlight outside
3
the
days
window
later,
inside.
Demon Monarch Hall.
She had no choice
the rabbit
but to get
monarch's
up.
legs turned
She
to
opened the
jelly,
window on the
and
right
it rolled down
and
from
said
the
to
throne.
the figure outside.
It looked at the person
Chef,
in front
how
of it
long
in
do you intend to
disbelief.
stand there?
It was dreaming,
Yi
right?
Qing was stunned.
It had to be,
He
right?
immediately stood up
Yo,
straight
rabbit,
and
long
said
time no
seriously,
see.
Master, don't worry. I will guard this place well. Chapter
I
58.
will not let anyone come
Shun.
near and disturb
Shun.
Master.
Shun.
He did not
Don't be
believe
nervous.
that anyone would
I
dare
just want
to
to
snatch her
discuss
from
something
under
with
his
you.
nose.
Shunning
Sigh,
touched its
Little
ears.
Red and the others
Rabbits
have already
were indeed
officially
timid
entered the
animals.
sect.
She
They
quickly
will not
pointed
come
to the
here
chair
in the
behind
middle
it
of the
and
night.
said,
Come,
Master,
sit.
people are sinister.
The rabbit monarch
We have to be
trembled
prepared.
even more violently.
He said seriously.
Instantly. It was
It
my
felt
mistake
as if its
that
ears
caused
had gone
Master
numb.
to be
It
kidnapped
tried
the
to
second
sit back
time.
on the throne
I will
several
not allow
times,
myself to
but
make a
its
third
legs
mistake.
gave way and it slid
But
down.
you can't stand
Great.
outside my
Great
window every
immortal.
day.
Please
You have
give
to
me
wake
your
up early to
instructions.
make breakfast tomorrow.
Seeing that it could not
Master,
sit
don't
properly,
worry.
I'm
Shenning
not
squatted
tired.
down beside
I'm
it and
tired.
chuckled.
Shenning
It's like
sighed deeply this.
again.
The three of
This
us
was the
have
first
just
time
arrived
she
in the
realized
upper
that
azure
her
world
chef was so
and
stubborn.
have not found a place
She climbed
to stay.
out of the window.
I heard
and
that the
pulled him to
demon
sit
realm
beside
is
her.
not divided into
Chef,
upper,
it's so
middle,
late.
and lower realms.
If you
like
don't
the
sleep
three
and
azure
stand
worlds.
here,
I won't
Moreover,
be able to rest.
it is the closest
Why don't
to
I
the
promise
upper azure
you that
world.
if someone really comes,
I wanted to ask
I
if
will
you have a
shout for
suitable
you.
place.
But once
Great.
Master falls
Great
asleep,
immortal wants to find
you
a
won't wake
place
up
to
even
stay.
if lightning strikes.
The rabbit monarch heaved a sigh of relief.
Nonsense.
So she did
What if
not
some
want
blind
to destroy
person
it.
kidnaps
Thank
Master
goodness.
again?
Thank
It's
goodness.
safer for me to
It
stay
turned
here.
to look behind her.
Was she
and
a child?
saw two other
How
cultivators.
could she be kidnapped
It
so
had
easily?
seen I Ching before.
The more I Ching
but
said,
it did
the
not
more he
expect
felt
her
her
to
to
become a
He
soul
became more
formation
determined
cultivator in
Go
such a
rest,
short
Master.
period of time.
I will not disturb
And the other
your
one
sleep.
was also a soul
You've already
formation
disturbed
cultivator.
It
Shenning
became
looked
even
at the
more
stubborn
respectful
person in
toward
front of her.
Shenning.
She
Great
had a
immortal
headache.
indeed.
After
Her
thinking for a
followers were
while,
all the strongest.
she sighed and said
Even
helplessly,
if they were not strong,
I won't accept Little
she had
Red
to create
and the
the
others as
conditions to disciples.
become the
All
strongest.
He turned back.
Something like that.
I won't accept them
Shenning
in the future
recalled
either.
Father Nyo's words.
She added,
I want that
sure
kind
enough,
of radish
his
field.
eyes lit up
Didn't
like
you
the
often
stars
give
in
me
the sky.
radishes? Really?
There should be, right?
Yes. Yes.
She nodded.
I guess.
Their cooking is
What
not
was
as
a
good
radish
as yours.
field?
Couldn't
Can
she
we
be
go
more
back to
specific
sleep
now?
Yes,
Shenning,
master, no
the
problem,
corner of
master.
Loman's mouth twitched.
I Ching stood up
He tugged at
abruptly
her and turned
the
around
suitable
to
place
leave the
you
courtyard
mentioned is the
happily.
demon realm?
He looked as
Was
if
she
he
out
had
of her
hit
mind?
the jackpot.
That's right.
And disappeared
The
at the
demon
door
realm
in a
was
flash.
vast and sparsely
Shenning,
populated.
having a
It
chef
did not
with such
belong
a
to
strong
any
ego was
aristocratic
also a
family,
problem, and was
It
close
seemed
to
like
the
he
upper
couldn't
azure
change his
world.
taste so
But they were
easily in the
cultivators.
future.
Recently,
Don't worry,
the entire
I'm
demon
very
realm
familiar
had been
with the
very
rabbit.
busy. She
All the
patted his
demons
shoulder
were busy
confidently.
helping the great immortal
It's not a
rebuild
matter
the
of
rear
familiarity
hall that had
Loneman's
mysteriously
frown
collapsed.
deepened.
It's
Shenning
not like
was
you don't
busy
know
eating,
that the demon
while
realm
Lone Moon
is
was
filled
busy
with
teaching
demonic
the new
chi.
disciples.
Cultivators
Originally,
can't cultivate in
I
such a
Ching
place.
was also involved in teaching sorcery.
Shenning paused.
However,
She turned to
he
look
did
at
not
the
know what
rabbit
had
and
happened
added,
to him recently.
Rabbit,
I want a place without demonic chi.
From
How
the
can the
second
demon
day
realm
after
not
these
have?
disciples entered
Yes,
the
great
sect,
immortal.
he built
The
a
rabbit
temporary
monarch
kitchen
nodded
next to
vigorously.
Shenling's house.
Do you have
and
to
immersed
agree so
himself in
quickly?
researching new
It can't
dishes.
be true, right?
No one could pull
Even
it
if
out.
there's such a place
Lone
in
Moon
the
had
demon
completely
realm.
lost
It's
all hope in
impossible
this
for
sort
it
of
to
mortal
produce a spirit
who was
vein,
about to become
right?
a chef immortal.
Rabbit, and one
Yet,
with a
he could
spirit
not let
vein.
Shenning help
She
him.
continued to
Otherwise,
add conditions.
this foodie would definitely bring out
no
a new
problem,
Oriental
great
chef
deity.
class.
He nodded
He could only
vigorously.
grit his teeth and
Shit.
accept these people.
Why did you agree to
On
everything?
the first day of class,
Such a place is
he
hard to
carefully
find
checked
even in the
everyone's
upper azure
cultivation
world.
and sorcery. After checking,
The
he
demon
was
realm
shocked.
is so big.
None of these
Even
9
if there
people's
was, it would
spirit
be hard
roots
to
were
find.
complete.
Can
Although
you
it
find
could be
it?
seen that they
Rabbit?
did have good
You
qualities
can do
in the
it,
past.
great immortal.
Because of
Very
the multiple
soon, great
forceful
immortal.
bursts of spirit
He nodded
chi to
furiously.
nourish them. Most
Holy
of their
shit.
foundations
What did
were
you do to
destroyed.
this rabbit?
Moreover,
Forget
the
it, I don't
meridians
care
in their
anymore.
bodies were messed
Do
up.
whatever you want.
Some were even poisoned.
Lone Moon stood
Not to
the
mention
side.
cultivation.
But Shenning
It
and
was
the
already
rabbit
a
monarch
miracle that they
were
could
already
live until
preparing
now.
to set off to check out
Fortunately,
the territory.
Invincible Sect
He could
did
only
not have
follow.
anything else.
He didn't believe
There
that
were
in a
spirit
place like
herbs
the
and
demon
spirit
realm,
plants all
there
over
was
the
no
mountains.
demonic aura.
It was only a
abundant
matter of time to
spiritual
heal their
energy,
injuries.
and spirit veins
However,
and spirit
he and I
plants.
Ching were not good
We're
at
here.
concocting medicine.
Immortal.
Their
Holy
damaged
shit.
foundations
There really
could
was
not be
one.
repaired.
Did they have to
In
be
the
so
future,
efficient?
it would be
Lone
especially
Moon
difficult
looked up
for
at the
them to
towering
cultivate
floating peak
sorcery
in front of him.
They might not even
Unable
be able
to
to
regain
advance
his senses
inches
for a long time.
It was just right for
The
them
peak
to
was
become
filled with
sword
lightning
cultivators,
clouds.
like a fairyland.
Originally, the
These
peak was
people were
overflowing
raised
with
as human
spirit
cauldrons
chi,
from a young
and
age.
he could faintly feel
All
the
they learned
aura
were
of several
Ian and soft
spirit
veins
veins
surging within
He
the
also
peak.
did not know much
Such
about
a lively
other types
spirit
of
vein was
cultivators.
several times
If their
stronger than that
foundations
of
were
the
still
Black Heaven
intact,
sect.
he might not be able to
Strangely,
teach them
this
too
floating
much.
peak floated
They might
above
as
the
well
demon
take
realm,
this opportunity
and the
to
surrounding
become
demonic
sword
aura
cultivators.
seemed to intentionally
Sword cultivators
avoid
were
the spirit
different from
peak.
sorcery.
It only
They
lingered
relied
a few
on
kilometers
techniques
away
and
from the
understanding
spirit
of
peak,
sword intent,
and did not seem to
Therefore,
invade the peak
even
at
if
all.
their foundations
It was
were
as if a
damaged,
completely
they
opposite
might be
region
able
had
to
been
go further
created
on
in
the
the
path
demon
of
realm.
sword cultivators.
This place is
But
very
compared
close
to
to the
ordinary
upper Azure
cultivators,
world, or
and
even
as the
sword
floating
cultivators
peak with the most
their
abundant
lives were
spirit
100
chi.
times more
The
difficult.
rabbit monarch pointed
Lone
to the
Moon
floating
looked at the
peak
group
and
of
explained,
delicate girls in
its
front of
position
him
happens
and
to be at the
hesitated.
point of extreme
Supremacy,
yang
don't
between
worry.
the human and
We are
demon
not
realms,
afraid of hardship,
and demonic aura
knowing what he
cannot
was
invade
worried
it.
about. So
Yu
that's
Hong
why the
took a step
demonic
forward,
aura only
and
lingered
said
a
with a
few
determined
kilometers away.
expression,
We have already experienced the toughest things in the world,
definitely suitable
what is
for
there to
great
be afraid
to
of?
cultivate.
Loneman's
And it's
brows
also
relaxed.
the place with the
He
densest
glanced at the crowd
concentration
again.
of spirit
He had
herbs in the
underestimated
demon
these
realm.
girls.
In the past,
To be able to climb out of such a hellish situation
great
without
immortal's
giving
abode
up,
were
and to
harvested
stay
from
true
here.
to their hearts.
The rabbit monarch
Why would they
pointed
be
to the
afraid
front.
of a little hardship?
Shenning turned to look.
Good. And
From
indeed,
today onwards,
there were radishes
sword
all over the
cultivators
mountain.
of my invincible
It really was a
sect.
radish field.
Lone Moon
House
waved
rabbits.
his hand and
Little
immediately
Missy,
summoned
I like this
several
place.
spirit swords.
The radish
He
pendant
placed them in
jumped
front
down
from
from
Lone
everyone.
Moon's leg.
You have to
and
start
happily
from the
rolled
simplest
around
sword
in the
moves.
radish field.
Yes,
It was a
everyone
vegetation
answered
spirit
in unison.
and naturally liked places with abundant wood spirit chi.
Shenning
From then
ignored
on,
it and patted the
supremacy
rabbit
Lone
monarch,
Moon,
who was
Rabbit,
once
this
the
is
number
it then.
one sword
Thank
cultivator
you.
in the Middle
You're
Azure
welcome,
world.
great immortal.
Began his
This
life
is
of
what I
treating
should do,
people
what I should
and
do.
teaching them swordsmanship
I'll be
at the
staying
same
here
time.
from now on.
In an instant,
Do you need anything
the
else,
originally
great
quiet,
immortal?
invincible sect
Anything
became
else?
lively.
She thought
From
about it
time to
seriously.
time,
People
I just
could
have
be
a
seen
small
waving
need.
their swords.
Can you find some
At
household
first, Lone
items?
Moon did not have
kitchen
much hope for
utensils
these
and other daily
disciples.
necessities?
After all,
I'll
the
go
reason
prepare
why there
them
were
now.
so few sword
and remember to
cultivators
have a
was
table.
because of the high
Yes, great
requirements
immortal.
for the cultivators.
How about building a house
especially
while you're
the
at it?
understanding of the sword Tao that
You have
surpassed
experience
ordinary
anyway.
people.
No
Apart
problem,
from
great
Great
immortal.
who was born with
Does
the
great
sword
immortal have
embodiment.
any specific
He was the
requirements
only
for a
soul
house?
formation sword
It
cultivator
doesn't have to be
in
too
the
big.
entire Middle
Just
Azure
a room,
world.
a living
Even
room,
in the Upper
a kitchen,
Azure
and a
world,
bathroom will
which
do.
was full of talents.
How about
The
you
number
just
of
build
sword
it like your
cultivators
demon monarch
who
palace?
could reach the nascent
It looks
soul
quite
realm
nice.
could be
I
counted
Ching.
on one hand.
Lone Moon,
This showed how
is this a
difficult
small
it was
need?
to cultivate
You might as
as a
well
sword
let her build a
cultivator.
palace.
In the
I've
beginning,
never seen such
he
a
asked
shameless
everyone
person.
to become sword cultivators.
Yes, great immortal.
Not only to give
No
them
problem,
hope,
great immortal.
but also to give
Did
them a
she
way
have
to
to be
deal
so
with
shameless?
enemies in the future.
She really agreed.
What surprised
Lone
him was
Moon
the
frowned.
perseverance of
He
these
could not
people,
help but nudge
because
Yi
they
Ching
knew their
beside
own
him.
situation.
Hey, how do you
They
know
worked
this rabbit
even harder
demon?
and cultivated
Why is it
day
so
and
nice
night.
to Shinning?
In just a few
It was
short
simply
months,
obedience.
their
Yi
cultivation,
Ching thought about
which
it
had been
and answered
stagnant,
seriously
actually
after a
showed
while.
signs of loosening.
Maybe it's because
this was an unexpected
Master
surprise.
hasn't exterminated
Lone
its
Moon
entire
felt
clan.
an inexplicable sense of
Exterminated.
pride from the
What
bottom
the hell
of his
was
heart.
that?
They were
This was
indeed
not
the
good
people he had
relationship.
taught.
This
The
was
only
clearly
thing
a
that made
freaking
him
feud,
unhappy,
right?
was that
For
this
all,
group of people
3
was
months
clearly
later.
taught by him.
All right, stop eating.
Every time they
Get
looked
ready.
at Shinning,
We have to go
their
to
eyes
Upper
were more
Azure Town.
respectful than anyone
Lone
else's.
Moon pulled a certain
Even
foodie
when she
down from the
coincidentally
dining
came
table
out to
and
walk the
instructed.
carrots.
Upper
The
Azure
eyes of the
Town?
group of girls
Shinning
seemed
looked
to move
confused.
uncontrollably.
She stuffed the
If he
last
was not
piece of
standing
pastry
in
in
her
front of
hand
them.
into her mouth, they would have rushed
Why?
over to ask
What else
for
can we do?
autographs and photos
We're going
with
to
her.
recruit
They were
disciples,
becoming
of course.
more and more brain-dead
Lone Moon
fans
rolled
in
his
a
eyes
second.
and said,
To this,
I've
he
already
only
wanted
asked
to
around.
say,
Damn this
tomorrow
cheater.
is the annual recruitment day for all the aristocratic families and sects in the Upper Azure world. Everyone
Chapter
who wants to
67.
cultivate will
Sect
have to go
Master.
to the various
Taking
immortal
advantage
cities to
of the break
register.
time.
The closest
The
one
softest
to us
sister
is Upper
C
Azure
could not
City.
help but step
Why do
forward
we have
stop
to
the
recruit
cheat.
disciples?
Hey, little green
She was
sister.
stunned.
Couldn't
Lone
they
Moon
just
glanced
focus on
over,
cultivating
wondering
themselves?
who little green sister was.
He turned to see the disciple called Siyu,
Chapter 59.
dressed in a green dress.
Didn't you say you wanted
Indeed,
to
she
establish
still could
a
not
sect?
remember her name.
Not recruiting.
Do you want to eat?
Holy shit.
Shenning
Don't
asked
tell me
as
you
she
don't
nibbled
intend
on
to
a
recruit
fruit.
people?
No need.
Lone Moon sized her
pushed
up
the fruit
and pointed
back
to a
shyly.
palace surrounded
have
by
a
immortal
question.
chi. I want to
If
ask
you don't
Sect
want to
Master.
recruit disciples,
Go ahead.
why the hell did
Shenning
you build
nodded
such
in
a
a friendly
friendly
manner.
manner?
After the
what do you
rabbit
think of our
monarch
sword
brought them to
technique
the
just
spirit
now?
peak.
Are there any
He recruited a
shortcomings?
large group of
Che.
demons the next
Lone
day
Moon rolled his
and
eyes.
built a house quickly.
It would be a wonder
in
if she
just a
knew.
few short months.
This is pretty
this floating
good.
peak,
Indeed,
which
Shenning
only
had
had stiffened
stiffened
plants.
She looked
had
around
already
and
been
said
built
after
with
a
a
while,
large number of
if
palaces.
it's not enough, maybe
The
exquisiteness of which was
Sister
not
C
inferior
looked
to that of the
confused.
Demon King Hall.
Isn't there a saying?
Isn't it nice?
One strong
Shenning
man
glanced
can
at the
defeat 10
magnificent
skilled men.
palace.
Lone Moon,
Nice, my
you
ass.
plagiarist dog.
Lone Moon was so
Siyu was
angry
stunned
that his
for a
liver
moment.
hurt, and
Don't
then her
tell me
eyes
you
lit
built
up.
so many
Even
buildings
the other
for the
girls
three of us
looked
to live in.
enlightened.
I
Are you a
understand
freaking
now.
emperor?
Thank
To
you for
live
your
in such a
guidance,
big
Psych
place,
Master.
it would take 2 days just to walk
you really
one
believed
round.
it, all right?
Oh, wait a
Recruiting
minute.
disciples is
Why
so
did this
troublesome.
sound so familiar? The face of Yi
Lone
Ching's
Moon laughed
diehard
coldly.
fan surfaced in his
Without
mind.
any disciples,
Could they also be?
Are you going to clean
He
up this
immediately
place in the
scanned all the
future?
girls
present.
2 seconds later,
Fortunately, no one
Father
had an
Neo,
epiphany.
I think what you
Even
said
see
makes
you
a lot
only
of
bowed
sense.
deeply.
Let's
and
go
ran
recruit
back
people.
to continue her cultivation.
With that said,
She
he
turned
turned
to
to
I
working
Ching and
harder
said,
than before.
Chef,
Even
quickly
when the
pack
others
up these
swung their
pastries
swords
and make some snacks
they were
for the
using
journey.
more force than
Oh
before.
yes, bring
Lone
more
Moon
ingredients.
heaved a sigh of relief.
We can have a picnic
In order
if we
not
can't
to let
rush back.
Shenning command them blindly
Yes, master,
and
no
disrupt
problem,
his teaching
master.
plan.
At the end of the
day,
he specially set up a transportation array between the
Lone Moon
newly
had
built
thought it
kitchen
through very clearly,
and the vegetable
their
field
floating
where
peak
Radish
was
lived.
filled with spirit
This
herbs.
completely
It would
eliminated
be
the
very
possibility
easy to train a
that
group
she
of
would have to
disciples,
pass by the martial
although there
arts
were only
arena
3 of them
when she
now,
helped a certain
and it
chef
might be a
get the
little
side
tough in the
dishes.
early stages.
The strange thing was,
He was after all
the girl's
someone who had
passion for
managed a
learning did
company
not
with
diminish
millions of
because
people.
they could not
He
see
was
their
very
idol.
familiar with these
Instead,
things.
they worked even
As for
harder.
learning sorcery
Their
and the
sword
like,
techniques
I
became
Ching and
more
he
and
were
more
both sword
ferocious.
cultivators.
Even their
They could
resting
first
time was
recruit a few
automatically
talented
reduced.
sword cultivator
Sometimes,
disciples.
when he unconsciously
Moreover,
released
he was
his divine
proficient in array
perception at
formations.
night, he could
And
see
I
them
Ching was
secretly
proficient in
cultivating
refining
against
weapons.
the stone walls
If
with
there
their
were
bare
suitable
hands.
disciples,
Why did
they
he
could
feel
also
that something
teach
was
them.
wrong?
As for
Where is
refining
it?
pills
He
and
thought
taming
about it
beasts,
for a long time.
they could only rely
but
on
still couldn't
self-study.
figure it out.
As for
He could
Shening,
only remind
she
them
could
to
just be a
strike a
mascot
balance
between
between
work
peace.
and rest every
Lone
day in
Moon
class.
thought that he had thought
However,
of everything.
they did
He
not
even
seem
drew
to
up a
have given
thick
up
stack
on the
of plans
momentum
overnight,
of cultivating
including
desperately.
how to nurture
His
disciples,
moves were getting more
how
and
to
more
raise
practiced.
the overall
His
standard
body
of the
was
sect,
getting stronger
how to
and
expand
stronger,
the influence
and
of
his
the sect
appearance
and
was
so
becoming
on.
less and
However,
less like a sword
when
cultivator.
the 3 of them arrived at Upper Azure Town and got into position,
A few months
they
later,
ran into a
during
serious
an internal
problem
competition
just
that
as they
he
were about
organized,
to accept their disciples,
who was originally
"What
the
sect
smallest,
are you from?"
suddenly
A
threw away the
white-robed youth
sword in
asked
her
innocently.
hand. She
Lone
clenched
Moon,
her fist and with a
I Ching,
loud bang,
Shening,
smashed the
holy
stone wall
shit.
in front of
He
her.
actually forgot
Lone
to
Moon,
give the sect a name.
looking at the girl's
For all,
bulging biceps,
Ngun
his
Gul
heart
1 minute
skipped a
later.
beat.
He
He
finally
fellow
understood what was
Daoist,
wrong.
wait a moment.
This strength, this fighting style.
Lone Moon's
His
face
wind
paled.
filled with killing
He hurriedly
intent.
set up a
How was
soundproof
this a
array
sword cultivator?
and pulled the 2
This
people
was a body
beside him over.
cultivator.
Why
For all,
didn't you remind me
Ngun
that I
Go,
forgot to give it
He
a
told
name?
them to practice
Shening
their
looked
swordsmanship,
confused.
not to
I
train
thought
their
you had
physique.
already decided.
What the hell were
Weren't
these
you the
girls
one
who
who
were
brought
getting
up
more
the
and more
idea of
ferocious
accepting a disciple?
and didn't like to
I
use
Ching
their
nodded.
swords?
I
And
too,
only
Supremacy
liked to
Neo
settle
has
things
his
with
own
their
plans.
fists.
What
What
do we
about
do
the
now?
sword techniques
We
he
can't
taught?
possibly tell
Were they
people
eaten?
that we haven't thought of a name
Why do I
yet,
feel
can
like
we?
the spirit chi
He
is
turned
getting
back to look
stronger
at
and
them
stronger
and urged them
today?
in a low voice.
See you,
Who had
hurry,
won the
you found the
competition
territory.
suddenly
Quickly
frowned.
think of a name.
Oh no, any
Junior
name will
sister,
do.
you're
Anything
about
will
to form
do,
your
as
core.
long as it sounds
Yu
good
Hong
and
was
shocked
catchy.
and shouted,
Hurry,
quick, sit down.
Oh, wasn't it just
Concentrate
a
on
name?
forming your core.
She was very good
in
at
an
it.
instant.
Catchy
The
then,
surrounding
Beijing
spirit
chi
chi
surged and
surged
surged
towards
fish
Siyu.
soup.
She leveled
I'm
up.
going to F asterisk
The worst thing to do
king
when
braising,
forming a core is to
pan-frying,
be interrupted.
stir-frying.
Everyone
That's fine
stepped
too.
back.
Find
Lone
my
Moon
ass.
took a step
Are you
forward
F
and
asterisk
set up a
asterisk
few arrays to
saying it
gather
catchy
spirit
or
chi
enjoying
around
it?
her.
Lone
Then,
Moon was
he
so
led the
angry
rest of
that
them
he
to
wanted to
retreat
bite
tens
someone.
of meters away.
Can you give
The
up on
sky
food?
immediately
Are
darkened.
you trying to tell others
Thunderclouds
that the
quickly
disciples
gathered
in
in
the
the
sect
sky.
are all food
The
to be
spirit
eaten?
chi in the
Do you
middle of
want
the
something
martial arts
powerful?
arena rose
Of
steadily.
course,
Its
faced
faintly
with the
its
power of
powerful
heaven
and
and
earth
earth
could be
could be
felt. The kind that
This
can
was
shake
nothing
the
to
3
Lone
realms.
Moon,
Who
what
was
do you
at the
think
Seoul
of Tsinghua
Formation
University
stage,
and
but to
Peking
the disciples
University?
below the Golden
Master,
Core
these
stage,
2 names are
it was a
good.
great power.
I Ching nodded
Just
vigorously.
as he was about to set up an
One look,
isolation array,
and I can tell that
he
they are
turned
names
around
that will
and
go
saw
down
that
in
4
history.
or 5 people
Lone
seemed to
Moon.
feel something from
F
the power of
asterisk
heaven and
asterisk
earth.
King retard.
They immediately
There were
sat
quite a
down
lot of
and
people in
meditated
Upper
on
Azure
the
City.
spot.
Their
Once it was
cultivation
time
for
for
the
the
various
various
sects to
advanced by
recruit
one level,
disciples,
it
damn,
became
this is
even more
possible.
lively.
It's over.
The
It's
streets
over.
and
One
alleys
core
were filled with
formation,
mortals who
and
wanted
4
to
or
join
5 of
them
sects
advanced
or
by small
aristocratic
level.
families.
They already had
The
the
plaza in the
foundation
middle
of
of the
body
city was
cultivation
especially
and
packed.
could no longer
The
turn
4
back.
aristocratic
Damn it,
families
did
always
they have
had
to
their
be so
own
tragic?
fixed recruitment
He was
locations.
clearly teaching
So the
sword
people who
cultivators.
came to the plaza
So
were
why
all
did
people
all of
who
them
wanted
become
to join
body
other
cultivators
sections
one by one?
because Upper Azure
Sigma
City
Q.
was located
What
in
was
a
body
remote area.
cultivation?
The people
Body
who came to
cultivators
recruit
were a bunch of
disciples
people
from
who
the
used
various
their
sects
fists were
to
not
do the
as formal
talking.
as those
There
in
was
the
no
large
technique
immortal
to speak
cities.
of.
They were
Most of them
boorish
just
men
put
who
up a flag
specialized
with the
in
name
body
of the sect written
cultivation.
on it.
Weren't you all
Those
a bunch
who
of
came
girls?
to join only had
Why
to
did you
register
have to
their
be like
names
those demons
and
and
test
beasts
the quality
and
of
walk
their
such a
spirit
cruel
roots?
path?
The
What
What was so good about
aristocratic
body
families
cultivators
had always
with
been
rough
strict
skin
in their
and thick
recruitment
flesh.
of disciples.
In the entire
And
three
they never
azure
valued
realms,
people
there were not
who did
even
not
many
share
male
the same
body
surname.
cultivators. So there were
Not to
still many
mention
people
female
who
body
chose to join other
cultivators.
sections.
What exactly was
Everyone
it that
lined
made
up
you
in
all
a
so
long
depressed?
line,
Except
what was it
for
that
a place
made you
on the
so
far right
depressed?
that no one cared about.
Compared to the other sects,
He had a vague
which
feeling
more or
that
less
in the
had
future,
7 or 8 people
the entire
standing there
sect
to
would be
keep up
filled with
appearances.
diamond Barbies.
This sect
Damn
looked
it, I'm so
especially
tired.
shabby. I want
There
to
were
resign.
only 3 cultivators
This time,
standing there.
Sea's lightning
And on the right was a
tribulation
flag
lasted
with
for
2
4 whole
words written
hours.
on it.
Each bolt was
Invincible.
heavier than the one
Invincible
before.
sect.
It was
The
not
name
much
sounded
weaker
quite
than the
domineering,
lightning
but no one
tribulation
had ever
of the
heard of
nascent
it.
soul realm.
It was obviously
Body
a new small
cultivators
sect.
walked the path of tempering their bodies.
Although among
Each
the 3
bolt
people,
of lightning would
2 of
forcefully
them
crush
seemed
the
to have high
victim's meridian
cultivation
levels,
and then
and their
reconstruct
auras
them with
seemed to
spirit
suppress
chi.
everyone else
Thus,
present.
compared to other
No one dared
cultivators,
to join them
the lightning
easily.
tribulation
Father
of body
Neo,
cultivators
Shening
was
yawned,
especially
and
cruel
the
and
flag in her
frightening.
hand tilted.
There were 81
It's
bolts
already
of
been a
lightning
whole morning,
tribulation,
and we
and
haven't
each bolt
gotten a
was a
single
rebirth.
person. There were almost no body cultivators in the entire 3 azure realms. Lone Moon glared at her exasperately and straightened the flag. They would be struck to death by the lightning that it would be difficult for during their first core disciples. The human body was not as strong as that of demons and beasts. There were not even many people who came to ask out of curiosity, even after 81 bolts of lightning tribulations. She was only left with a bloody frame. They were not suitable to be sword cultivators at all. And completed her core formation. How much longer do I have to stand? Dissipated. I'm so tired. Spirit rain fell from the sky. Could not hold on any longer. All of it dripped onto the victim. Immediately took the flag from her body, then began to regrow. And took out a wooden chair from his storage bag. And she slowly regained her human appearance. Master, why don't you sit down and have the strength to get up? Sure. After half a month, Shining's eyes brightened. She finally recovered and stabilized her cultivation level. A person dressed in a gray robe suddenly rushed out of the shop that had been closed. Although they did not form their core formation, as if he did not see where he was going. They at least advanced a small level. He tripped over the chair. Body cultivators had become an unchangeable fact. The gray robe slid down. After revealing half of an exceptionally beautiful robe, Shining apart with his own hands and instinctively wanted to help him up. But someone beside her beat her, she said back then, and rushed out of the shop. One man can defeat 10 men. She quickly helped everyone went down the round path and tugged at the person's gray robe that had been pulled down. But the strange thing was that no one was against becoming body cultivators. How are you? Instead, they were surprised. Big sister Yuhong. In fact, from the second day onwards, robe hurriedly shook her head, threw away their swords, and looked around and began to simply practice their fists and bodies. Another 7 or 8 people walked out of the shop. They had finally broken through some kind of window gray robes as her. Lone Moon, who had always thought that he was leading sword cultivators. Chapter 60. Are you alright? Was he the only one who thought that they wanted to become sword cultivators? I didn't know you would come out from there. Brainless fans. I'm sorry. If they had such ideas, cupped his fists. Why didn't they just go to heaven? The one who put the chair there. They were getting old. He could not let Master take the blame. Lone Moon was about to throw away his responsibilities. The one called Yuhong smiled at them, but he unexpectedly received a message that immediately suppressed his thoughts of resigning. She stopped in her tracks, as if she had seen something. Suddenly, she walked back quickly and glanced at the 3 of them. Chapter 68. Immortal Masters. Sect competition? Are you recruiting disciples? Ying's hand that was holding the pastry paused. Yes. Our invincible sect has equivalent to a competition of skills. We are indeed recruiting disciples. Lone Moon explained. What do the 3 of you think of us? All sects and aristocratic families in the upper azure world who were all dressed in dusty clothes. There are 3 groups based on cultivation level. Refinement, delighted, foundation, establishment, and golden core. Who knew what was the good top for 3 them. Will be chosen. Yes, we are willing to join. The organizers will sponsor the prizes. She looked up at the flag and continued. Upper Azure World Olympics. Invincible sect. You could say that. All right. He nodded. Lone Moon chuckled. It's just that the sect competition, you won't regret it, is only held once every 10 years. He looked at the group of girls seriously. It's in 3 days. I see that you are all cultivators. Shining looked disinterested. And 3 of you have already formed your core. Were you really not part of a sect before? The woman named Yuhong was City yesterday to register for the competition across her face. Under the name of Invincible. She immediately recovered and said with a smile, "This competition is organized by the Yin family. The few of us come from the same aristocratic families. In the village, the venue is we all started cultivating at a young age. We have to set off tomorrow, so it's normal for us to have a cultivation level." She handed over the competition token. If you don't believe me, Shining did not take it. You can check our divine perception. She glanced at the token with the word competition written on it. After cultivators joined the sect, we don't have given a life token. Wouldn't it be better to stay at home and eat in their divine perception? You're asking me why? Unless their cultivation was higher than the person who set up the life king idea of the situation could not be removed, including the 3 of us. People who set up the tokens were at least nascent soul cultivators. It's been a whole year and only 12 people. Loneman's divine perception made them freaking body cultivators. These people did not have any imprint. Does it look like a sect at all? Are you sure you want to join my invincible sect? Just enough to clean the house. He felt that something was wrong. Good my ass. Yes. Have you ever seen a sect with so few people? And turned to look at the others. Whenever he thought of the 9 future diamond Barbies, then let's test your spirit roots first. If we don't do some advertising, the Dharma artifact and make them testing spirit roots, we'll never be able to recruit them to come forward and test. However, the results shocked the skills of the 9 among these people. Although it's a little difficult to challenge someone of a higher level, and metal their foundations are with solid. This kind of talent, he gritted his teeth and spat out these 2 words. He would even be qualified. They have a lot of advantages when competing against people of the same level. Why did they come to a new sect? I don't have high expectations for this competition. It's good enough if one of them can get into the top 10. Your spirit root is not bad. At least let people know the strength of our invincible sect. Yuhong was delighted. Oh, then can Immortal Master bring us back to the sect now? That's why they're not the only ones the other parties doubt. She immediately to prevent people from looking down on them. Set off for all of us have to go half a month including you. With that, he grabbed her hand and shoved the token into her hand. So we wanted to hurry back to the sect to rest. You better wake up early tomorrow or else. His expression darkened as he said. A woman beside her suddenly tugged at Yuhong. Her voice was very low. Her lazy demeanor changed instantly. but did not open her competition card. Her head hung even lower. Father Neo, is it convenient for you? Right, Master Celestial. He turned to the person beside him and said anxiously again, "Why don't I bring them back? The future of the sect. Aren't I the sect master? Let's work overtime tonight." Shening raised her claw and suggested, "I'm sleepy anyway. Hurry up and prepare some cold dishes, pastries, was shocked. Fast food, and fruits for the journey, but stopped. We must not let our Olympic athletes starve." Lone Moon directly rolled his eyes at her. "Yes, then as the sect master, no problem, can you find the way back?" Lone Moon. She could not refute that. At the end of the day, he still couldn't forget and glanced at Shening. Convex, he reminded, let Radish lead the way. Tian City was located in the east of the Upper Azure world in surprise, and was considered the largest immortal city in the east. He pulled Radish off his leg. It took Radish the whole day to reach the city before the sky turned dark. Radish's family was indeed the wealthiest of the four big families. It transformed into that from the moment they flashed their competition tokens, wanting to pounce on Someone led them to an independent courtyard, specially designed for the competitors to rest in. Although the courtyard was not as spacious as Invincible Sex, and pressed it into the ground. It was more than enough for more than 10 people to rest. "Lend me your fan for transportation too." There are according to Lomon's inquiries, that's my intrinsic Dharma artifact. Sects participating your intrinsic in the Dharma artifact can be casually lent to how rich the Een family was. Lone glared at her. The competition will only start tomorrow. Leaf-shaped Dharma everyone rests well and threw it into the air. Lone Moon scanned the 9 girls in front of him. It became more than 10 times bigger. Perhaps it was their first time participating in such a formal competition. Shening then dragged Radish up from the ground, rather nervous, and led the group of new girls. He could only comfort them in a low voice. In a short while, you're not bad at all. They had already disappeared into the horizon. It'll be good if he can get into the top 10. Looked at I Ching with some dissatisfaction. Defeat. You clearly know that there is something wrong with that group of people. Whether intentionally or not, Shening bring them back. They glanced at Shening at the side. Master has her own plans. Lone Moon also looked in the direction that the group flew. Shening finished eating a fruit and Master will definitely be fine. She saw what Lone Moon said staring so much sense that he was actually speechless. What's the matter? Indeed, the corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. That cheek would not be in trouble. Don't you have something to give them? The Dharma artifact all the way back. What? When Master, they came, it's a defensive bell. Set up a few transportation arrays along the way, bells that looked exactly the same as the one he had given her. An hour to reach the border between the Upper Azure world and the demon realm. It can block a full blow from a nascent soul cultivator. Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed softly. She grabbed Yu Hong's hand, that there won't be any narrow-minded people who will try to kill you. Yu Hong was also shocked. Although she knew that the Dharma artifact with you during the competition not a good just place. In case. She never only thought then that the other party would directly bring them to the demon's welfare. That Father Neo had mentioned yesterday. Turned back to look at them. She hurriedly took it. It was rare for her to be so kind as to explain it to everyone. The animals inside are all good vegetarians. Do your best. Yes, Sect Master. They won't hurt people. She accepted it happily. The Dharma artifact had already brought everyone in. The moment they entered the demon realm, she accepted it happily. Instantly. The girl in blue, everyone on the leaf was wrapped in it, isolating them from the surrounding demonic accepted it happily. Let's wait and see. Girl in white. Yu Hong then calmed down, Rabbit, and turned to whisper to the others. Sect Master. No matter where the so-called invincible sect was, based on their current situation, Lone Moon entering the demon realm was actually beneficial already given up on a certain someone's method of recording the woman in front of them did not seem to have any cultivation at all. After she was done, they naturally would not be afraid. The only thing they had to be wary of was the man named Radish, who had a fawning smile on his face. The ranking is not important. Trying to get closer to the woman comes first. From the way he transformed just now, could it have high hopes for all of you? One by one looked excited as they carefully kept the bells that Shening had distributed into their around them. As if what happened next caused them to be somewhat at a loss. They were so excited that they could jump up and down if they were not careful. Greetings, great immortal. Lit up instantly. Greetings, and they bowed to her and flew away. Everyone began to express their determination. Good afternoon, great immortal master. Good afternoon. We will work hard. The demon flew away. Master, an 8th level demon passed by. Don't worry, sect master. We will definitely win glory for the sect. The demon froze. We will bring 9th level demon blessings to participate in the competition. Great immortal, have you eaten? May sect master be with us. Clang, the demon fell down. Everyone. He was the one who led the team. And I Ching was the one who refined the weapons. Why did they not attack them when they saw them? What did this have to do with Shening? But instead, the higher their cultivation after receiving gifts from your idols. What happened to the saying that humans and demons could not coexist? Invincible sect could it be that there was something special about this woman in front of them? Golden core everyone could not help but look at the woman among them. But no matter how they looked, there was still no trace of spirit in her body. The
She was
other 5
obviously
entered the
immortal?
foundation
Was it because
establishment
their
group?
cultivation levels were
Loneman's
too
goal
low
was
that
to
they
enter
could
the
not
top
tell,
10 in the
just like the
foundation
2 from
establishment
before.
group.
Even Sister
After
Yu
all,
Hong could not
among the
detect
5
their
people in the
cultivation
foundation
levels.
establishment
Could it be
group
that
they
they
met
met
some
some
great
great hidden
perfected
immortal
foundation
sect?
establishment?
Everyone felt a little
Among
excited.
the 4 people in
Even
the
Yu
golden
Hong's
core
eyes
group,
lit up.
other
She
than Yu
began to
Hong,
reevaluate
who was in
the
the
2
mid-stage
people in
golden
front of
core.
her. The
Immortal,
other 3 were in the
Immortal
early stage
Master,
golden core.
Finally,
See, you had
someone
just
could
formed
not
her
help
core.
but say,
It was
I
still
heard,
difficult to
I
stand
heard
out
from
from
the
a
2
group
immortal
of
masters
late-stage
that
golden
you,
core cultivators.
you are the sect
or
master
even
of
perfected
invincible
golden
sect.
core cultivators.
Yes,
Although they were
Shenning
body
nodded lazily.
cultivators who were
Our
stronger than
cultivation
sword
levels are
cultivators.
low.
We
They had
cannot
only
see
learned
the
its sword
cultivation
techniques
levels
in the
of the
past
immortal
year.
masters.
They had not
May
fought
I know
with
the
anyone
cultivation
before,
levels of
so
the
they
2
lacked
immortal
experience.
masters?
In
They are
fact,
soul
they
formation
probably
sword
wouldn't even bother
cultivators.
to use those
Soul
feminine
formation
spells from before.
sword cultivators. And there were 2 of them. Everyone took a deep breath, and their eyes lit up. Chapter
Then,
69.
may I know senior's
The group
cultivation
arrived
level?
at the competition
Me.
venue on time.
Shenning hesitated
When they
and
entered,
answered honestly.
there were already
I
many
have no
cultivators
cultivation
from
level.
various sects gathered inside. It was a sea of people. At a rough glance, there were probably tens of thousands of people. They did not know if it was a coincidence or not. But the disciples of Book Luo sect arrived before them. Coincidentally, this sect was all female cultivators. There were fewer female cultivators than male cultivators participating in the competition, including the 9 from Invincible sect. It was especially obvious that there were many female cultivators in this area. At first, they did not care until the discussions grew louder. Along the way, more and more eyes gathered on the 9 of them, accompanied by more and more undisguised pointing. Look, their faces are so disfigured. How dare they come out? Yes, all of them are so ugly. I have never seen such ugly cultivators before. Could they be fiendish cultivators? And they are standing beside the disciples of Book Luo sect. Everyone knows that Book Luo sect specializes in producing fairy-like female cultivators. That's right. What sect are they? Why do they only accept ugly people? The discussions around them grew louder. The 9 of them subconsciously lowered their heads, embarrassed and annoyed. Intentionally or unintentionally, they covered the scars on their faces. The morale that had just entered the arena dissipated instantly. Loman's expression darkened. Yu Hong and the others' foundations were damaged. Although Invincible sect had many spirit herbs, these alone were not enough to heal them. Therefore, there would be some hidden injuries. Although it did not affect their cultivation much, their disfigured appearances were never repaired. He and I Ching were already at soul formation, and did not care much about appearances. Moreover, there was a chance to reconstruct one's body during nascent soul formation. Therefore, few high-level cultivators cared about appearances. Therefore, they had never thought of solving this problem. Moreover, they were already used to their appearances, and did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. He did not expect that they would be looked down upon by some low-level disciples, because of such insignificant matters in this sect competition. He was a little angry, but he could not make everyone shut up. He could only release his soul formation suppressive force to warn the people around him. He comforted them and said, "Focus on the competition. Don't worry about anything else." Yes, everyone nodded, but their expressions did not improve. Lo Moon sighed. Seeing that the competition was about to start, he said, "We can't stay here for long. Don't worry, we'll be watching you from outside. Good luck." With that, he gestured for I Ching and Shenning to leave. They had just taken 2 steps when Shenning, who was in front of them, paused. "What are you doing?" Shenning did not reply. Instead, she suddenly turned and walked back to the 9 of them. "Well, I said something wrong yesterday." The 9 of them were taken aback and raised their heads. "Our Invincible sect doesn't have many friends anyway. Don't worry about friendship first." Her eyes turned cold as she said word by word. "So, you don't have to give me any face. Just kill him. You are indeed not fairies, but you can be everyone's nightmare. A while later." "Yes, sect leader." 9 His fighting spirit was burning fiercely. I Ching. "Master is right. Lo Moon." Ha, brainless fan. Every sect competition was the liveliest event in the Upper Azure world. The competition actually only lasted for 3 days. Today was the preliminary round, mainly to select the top 50 disciples of each cultivation level. The format of the competition was simple. Each cultivation level was divided into a group of 100 people. The last one standing would advance. Because it was the first day, all the sects had come to watch the competition. A high-floating platform was filled with experts from all the sections. The people on the highest level were from the 4 big families. Although most of the top 3 disciples were from the aristocratic families, this competition concerned the reputation of the aristocratic families. The patriarchs of the aristocratic families were all present, accompanied by traveling immortals. There are many more sects participating in this competition than in previous years. Yu Haiheng, the patriarch of the Yu family, frowned as he looked at the crowd below. Of course, I heard that many new sects have been established these few years. Yi Feng, the patriarch of the Yi family, touched the 10th level demon beast lying beside him and smiled. Fortunately, Yingtian City is big enough. Even if there were twice as many people, it would not be a problem. You are indeed the wealthy Yin family. Why don't I see the patriarch of the Yin family? Yi Feng looked around and realized that the host, the Yin family, was not here. Perhaps he has gone to make arrangements for the competition. With so many sects here this time, he must be very busy. The frown on Yu Haiyan's face deepened. He swept a disdainful glance at the experts from the various sects seated below him. He didn't seem to have any misgivings at all. The competition is getting worse with each passing year. All kinds of shabby sects dare to participate. Even the Yin family doesn't restrict the number of participating sections. Yi Feng laughed dryly and did not reply. He had heard that the patriarch of the Yu family was arrogant and never paid attention to the occasion when he spoke. Yu Haiheng, however, thought that Yi Feng was tacitly agreeing. His gaze became even more contemptuous. Suddenly, he noticed something and snorted coldly. Look over there. There are even mortals here. Where do they think they are? Just anyone. Clang. Before he could finish speaking, the patriarch of the Xian Yuan family, Xian Yuanyu, who had been silent all this time, suddenly felt his legs go weak. He slipped off his chair and fell to the ground. Everyone jumped in fright. Brother Xian Yuan? You. How could a soul formation expert fall on the ground? Yi Feng was a little confused, but Xian Yuanyu had no intention of paying attention to him. Xian Yuanyu stood up in a flash and hurriedly ran in the direction of the mortal that Yu Haiyan had pointed out. Even the traveling immortals of the Xian Yuan family immediately followed. They looked so anxious that it was as if they were rushing to reincarnate. Great immortal Yu, why are you here? Xian Yuanyu only dared to believe his eyes when he reached Shen Ying's side. Oh my God, it wasn't an illusion. It really was this ancestor. He suddenly felt his phantom limbs hurt. Greetings, great immortal. The traveling immortal Xian Yuanyong hurriedly bowed, trembling with fear. Shen Ying was stunned. She looked at the 2 people who had suddenly appeared and habitually waved her hand in greeting. Hey, good morning. You. She paused and tilted her head. Who are you? The 2 of them. The traveling immortal from the Xian Yuan family. Lonlin's mouth twitched. He pointed at Xian Yuanyong and turned to look at the person beside him. As for this person, he should be the patriarch of the Xian Yuan family, right? Oh, Shen Ying was stunned. The vegetable family that snatched the radish. The 2 of them. Vegetable family? What the hell? She might as well not explain. There were many misunderstandings the last time. Thank you, great immortal, for showing mercy. Xian Yuanyu smiled kindly. I wonder why great immortal is here this time. Competition. Competition? Her? Who the hell can beat you? We have already established a sect called Invincible Sect. This time, we are bringing our disciples to compete, Lone Moon explained. Xian Yuanyu nodded and hurriedly turned to lead the way. In that case, the competition is about to begin. Would Great Immortal like to have a seat and watch the competition together? Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. They looked at the high platform that was full of people before replying. Thank you, Patriarch Xian Yuan. It's my duty. Great Immortal, please. Thus, the Yu and Yi clans saw the Xian Yuan clan's patriarch respectfully lead the mortal that Yu Haiyan had just looked down onto his previous seat with a natural expression. 2 soul formation cultivators stood beside him. Even Xian Yuanyu and Xian Yuanyong stood straight at the side, leaving an empty seat. They had no intention of sitting down at the side at all. The patriarch of the Yu family was shocked. He looked at the two of them as if they were crazy. Was the Xian Yuan family crazy? But after all, this was another family's business. It was not appropriate for him to ask. He could only snort and turn his head. Chapter 70. Yifeng, on the other hand, was curious about the little girl sitting lazily beside him. Who was this girl? Why was the Xian Yuan family treating her so politely? Just as he was about to ask, his hand was suddenly pricked. He looked down and saw that the 10th level demon beast that was lying quietly beside him suddenly had its hair standing on end. All 4 of its claws were extended, and its entire body began to tremble slightly, as if it had encountered something terrifying. Shuiyin. What was wrong with it? The sudden movement made even the girl beside him turn to look at the beast on the ground. A cat. This is a roaring lion beast, he explained. Oh. Shening looked at it again. She had never seen a small animal before. Could it be eaten? The roaring lion beast trembled even more violently. Stop trembling. You're going to bump into someone, she suddenly reminded it. The roaring lion beast froze instantly, as if it had been petrified. Yifeng's eyes widened in disbelief. Miss, you're also good at taming beasts. I've never learned it before. That's strange. Shuiyin has never listened to anyone before. Is it sick? It's possible, he asked casually. Miss, what illness do you think it has? Canine plague? The first day of the preliminaries was actually just a formality. It was similar to the opening ceremony. The most important thing was the finals on the 3rd day. Therefore, the experts from the various sects only watched for 2 to 4 hours on the specially created high platform before they began to leave one after another. Even the Yu and Yi families had already left the stands. Shening and the others waited until Yu Hong and the other 8 had finished competing before preparing to leave. Fortunately, all 9 of them had advanced to the 2nd round of competition the next day. The 2 people from the Xian Yuan family, who had been following them, accompanied the 3 of them to watch the entire competition. They even politely sent them back to the courtyard where they were resting. Little Missy, you're finally back. The moment they entered the house, Radish, dressed like a piece of jade, pounced over. Shening stepped aside out of habit, only to see the piece of jade hit Lone Moon, who was behind her. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Why the hell did you turn into a human again? Didn't you say you would stay in the pit obediently? Che. Radish took a step back in disdain and slapped Lone Moon's hand away. Ugly, don't touch me. The veins on Lone Moon's head were about to explode. Damn it, if you have the guts, why don't you walk on your own in the future? Don't turn into a carrot and hug my leg. I didn't even complain that you were heavy. Do you think I'm willing? If it wasn't for little Missy not letting it hug her, it wouldn't have been willing. The more Radish thought about it, the more wronged it felt. It turned its head and wanted to ask for a hug. Little Missy, he bullied me. Scram. Vegetable dishes had no right to speak. Woo woo woo. It's 1,000 leaves vegetation spirit? Xian Yuanyu stared at Radish in shock. It had transformed so quickly. The Xian Yuan family had worked hard for tens of thousands of years, but they still couldn't make the vegetation spirit in their family take human form. They even raised it for a while before it died. The way the 2 of them looked at Radish became more and more passionate. Radish hid behind Shening and threatened them angrily. Pooey, get lost, ugly thing. Don't even think about coveting my pure body. The 2 of them were the mouths of spirit monsters that transformed from plants, all so poisonous? Cough, great immortal. Xian Yuanyu retracted his gaze and scanned the crowd. He turned to Shening and said, Congratulations to all the disciples of your sect for entering the 2nd round of the competition. You are indeed the disciples of Great Immortal. All of you are outstanding. Of course. Before Shening could reply, Radish answered proudly, All the big sisters in our family are very powerful. In this year, Radish had become very familiar with everyone. After all, they were the ones who watered it. In its heart it had a ranking. Shenning was first, it was second, and the other little missy were third. Its natural enemy was I Ching, the chef who often cut carrots. As for Lone Moon, Pui. Of course the disciples of Great Immortal are powerful. Xian Yuanyu nodded repeatedly. He looked at the crowd again and continued. But when I looked at your spirit bones, it seems like your foundation is damaged. It seems to be an old problem. Forgive me for being blunt, but this kind of damage should be healed as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will affect your future cultivation. You have a way. Lone Moon looked at him in surprise. Xian Yuanyu nodded. My Xian Yuan family has always been good at alchemy. I have some achievements in the field of alchemy. Their condition is actually not a big deal. They only need an 8th grade vitality pill to recover. Their damaged appearance can also be recovered. I just happened to refine a batch of vitality pills a few days ago. I can give it to your sect. Everyone looked delighted. Xian Yuanyu immediately took out a palm-sized bottle and handed it to Lone Moon. He added, they have not formed their nascent souls. It's better to repair their foundation sooner rather than later. Lone Moon took the pill and his expression darkened. He asked, how many spirit stones does this cost? After all, Xian Yuanyu had caused trouble at his place. He could not take his things for free. No need, no need. Xian Yuanyu hurriedly shook his head and said sincerely, I just want to build a good relationship with your sect. I have no other intentions. I have no request. Even if he had a request, he would not dare to accept it. Moreover, he was one of the 4 big families. He did not lack spirit stones, unless he looked at Radish uncontrollably. Lone Moon also understood. Instantly, the gazes of more than 10 people turned to a certain vegetable. Radish trembled under their gazes. It subconsciously crossed its arms and took a step back. What? I sell my skills, not my body. Everyone. Radish, bloom a few flowers, Shenning said. She could not take his things for free. No. Radish shook its head forcefully and looked at Shenning with an aggrieved expression. My flowers only bloom for little Missy to see. Who wants your dandelions? Seeing that Radish was determined not to submit, Shenning turned to I Ching. Chef, let's have radish stew with pork ribs tonight. Yes, master. Radish's face paled. It was about to cry. I'll bloom, all right? Only then did it walk out pitifully. Then it lifted the shirt on the lower half of its body. Holy shit. What are you doing? Lone Moon rushed forward and grabbed Radish's hand just as it was about to take off its pants. He waved at the shocked girls. All of you turn around. Turn around. I Ching also subconsciously covered Shen Ying's eyes. Why are you acting like a hooligan all of a sudden? Even if you're angry, you can't do that. Who's acting like a hooligan? Don't you want flowers? How are you going to bloom if you don't take them off? Blooming and taking off pants. Wait. Lone Moon paused. He suddenly remembered something. Flowers seem to be a plant's. What? So he really took off his pants to bloom. Lone Moon. I Ching. Shenning. Xian Yuanyu. Why did he suddenly not want it? Chapter 71. Early the next morning, Xian Yuanyu came to invite Shenning to watch the competition. Behind him were a few disciples of his own family. They were all very polite. Compared to the family master's politeness towards Shenning, the disciples seemed to be more respectful towards I Ching and Lone Moon. It was probably because they were beating different people. Shenning sat calmly on the highest level of the spectator stand at the same place and seat. Today was the second day of the competition. It was mainly a duel to determine the top 10 of each level. There were many disciples from the 4 big families. It was almost certain that they would make it to the top 10. That was why the family masters of the Yin and Yu families did not come. There were many empty seats on the high platform. Xian Yuanyu finally had a place to sit. Apart from the few of them, the family master of the Yi family, Yi Feng, was also present. However, he came alone, with no one beside him. Shenning looked at him curiously. Yi Feng immediately understood what she meant. He smiled and said, Shui Yin seems to be sick. No matter how I persuaded it, it wouldn't go out today. I left it in the yard. Oh, so it's the canine plague? Fellow Taoist, you seem to be very interested in spirit beasts? She nodded.
Yes, I quite like small animals. She liked to eat. Looks like you're a kindred spirit as well. Yifeng was delighted. The art of taming beasts required one to spend a long time with spirit beasts. Sometimes, in order to gain the beast's trust, one had to live with it. That was why few female cultivators liked the art of taming beasts, especially high-level spirit beasts like Shui. Now that he had finally met someone special, his interest was immediately piqued. Although most spirit beasts look scary, after spending a long time with them, you'll find that beasts are actually more affectionate than humans. My Shui is an example. Once it recognizes its master, it will stay by his side forever. However, people value their appearance and think that beasts are too cruel and terrifying. They're not cruel. She suddenly thought of a certain rabbit. Although it's a little timid, it's quite loyal. I like it very much. Ha 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 ha, well said. Mississippi, compared to humans, spirit beasts are indeed more loyal and reliable. Yifeng had not met a female cultivator who liked taming beasts for a long time. She seemed to be a high-level cultivator who hid her strength well. He immediately wanted to make friends with her. I am Yifeng, the family master of the Yi family. How should I address you, miss? Shening, she answered. Then, after some thought, she added, It's the sect master of Invincible Sect. Invincible Sect. Yifeng paused for a moment. After thinking for a long time, he still could not remember what sect it was, so he did not pay much attention to it. I see that fellow Taoist Shun spirit chi is restrained, so you must be someone with high cultivation. If you are interested in the future, we can go to the shore of Mirage Sea to look for some high-level spirit beasts. Rumor has it that there are many spirit beasts that can't even be found in the 3 Azure Realms. Really? Shening was delighted. Is it delicious? Ah, Yifeng was stunned. What did he mean by delicious? After thinking about it carefully, he thought that she was referring to the taming techniques. The higher the rank of the spiritual beast, the harder it is to contract and tame it. I'm sure it won't be easily tamed. By the way, fellow cultivator Shen seems to be someone who has done quite a bit of research on beasts. I wonder if you have any special methods to deal with those arrogant spirit beasts, especially those above the 10th level, who are unwilling to easily form contracts with them. Yes. Shening nodded. Really? Yifeng was delighted. What is it? A beating will do. Yifeng was stunned, but she continued in a serious tone. Little animals are not obedient. Most of them are spoiled. A beating will make them obedient. If that doesn't work, they can still be eaten. What the hell? Master, the competition is over, I Ching suddenly said. Only then did Shun Ying realize that the Golden Core and Foundation Establishment preliminary competitions had ended. Today's competition ended especially quickly. There were not many people left on the stage. The top 10 candidates had already been decided. Fortunately, Invincible Sect not only had 2 people from the Foundation Establishment group in the top 10, but they also had 2 people from the Golden Core group. One was Yu Hong, and the other was Siyu. Out of the 9 of them, 4 of them had made it to the finals. This was definitely a pleasant surprise. Lone Moon, who was at the side, was grinning from ear to ear. Lone Moon, who was standing at the side, was grinning so widely that his mouth was crooked. That person. Goodbye. Shening hurriedly stopped chatting and turned to walk down the stage. Take care, fellow cultivator Shen, Yifeng replied in a daze. The method she mentioned just now was probably a joke, right? It had to be, right? For people had made it to the top 10, and 2 of them were in the finals of the Golden Core stage. Lone Moon was the happiest. This year's hard work had not gone to waste. Although the direction of his cultivation was a little off, the results were still gratifying. He suddenly had confidence in the sect again. There were thousands of sects participating this time, especially people from the 4 aristocratic families. They were all the cream of the crop of the younger generation. Which one of them was not a talent carefully nurtured by the aristocratic families? Among these 10 people, apart from those from Invincible Sect, the others were almost all disciples of the aristocratic families. As a result, the 4 names of Invincible Sect were especially obvious. He could even feel that on the way back to the courtyard,
The other sects were looking at them differently. Some were fearful, some were envious, and some were shocked. But they did not look down on them like before. Lonmun's goal of advertising had been achieved. He could almost see the sea of people queuing in front of him. The next time, he went to Upper Azure Town to recruit disciples. At the thought of this, he could not contain his excitement. This time, he had to watch over the new disciples and prevent any possibility of contact with Shening. This time, he was going to nurture a group of pure sword cultivators. After returning to the courtyard, Lonmun praised the 9 people one by one, especially the 4 who had advanced. He also comforted their nervous hearts for the upcoming finals. He had thought that they would at least be excited, but they did not respond to his praise at all. They only looked at Shening, as if they were expecting something. Even a certain someone who had a screw loose could feel his concentration. She was stunned for a moment, and after a while, she turned her head and complimented him. "Not bad, keep it up." "Yes, sect master." 9 only then did they respond loudly, as if their acupoints had been unlocked. Everyone immediately burst into laughter. Lonmun, son of AB****, Xian Yuanyu requests to see Great Immortal Shun. I wonder if it is convenient for Great Immortal? A familiar voice suddenly came from outside the door. Before Shening could respond, Radish rushed out with a long face. He glared angrily at the newcomer and said, "What are you doing here? Do you want to ravage my body again?" The corner of Xian Yuanyu's mouth twitched. He seemed to have thought of something and felt a mouthful of blood welling up. Looking at Shening, who came out behind him, he had no choice but to swallow it down. Haha. He felt that after what happened last night, he had doubts about his Tao of pill cultivation. He could no longer look directly at the herbs for refining pills. Chapter 72. Vegetarian Patriarch. What's the matter? Shening asked. Straight face, what the hell was Vegetarian Patriarch? It felt like the way Great Immortal addressed him was constantly changing. Shun. Great Immortal Shun. He took a step forward and calmed himself down before remembering his purpose. I heard that 4 disciples of Invincible Sect have entered the finals. I'm here to congratulate your sect. You're too kind, Patriarch. Lonmun took a step forward and smiled. Didn't the Xian Yuan family also have 5 disciples in the finals? We'd like to congratulate you as well, Patriarch. How can my disciples compare to Great Immortal's disciples? Xian Yuanyu smiled even more politely and began to flatter each other. He then took out a bottle of elixirs and handed it over. By the way, this is a spirit condensation elixir used to nourish spirit qi. It's not a big elixir, but it will be more effective when used with the previous bottle of vitality elixir. It's suitable for your disciples. Take it as a congratulation to your sect for entering the finals. Lonmun looked at the bottle and found that it was indeed a 5th-grade pill. He did not reject it and accepted the goodwill. Thank you, Patriarch Xian Yuan. If you need any rare herbs in the future, feel free to come to Invincible Sect. We'll do our best. With that said, he looked at the arrogant Radish. Xian Yuanyu looked over as well. Everyone else subconsciously turned to look at Radish. What? You want me to bloom? An image flashed across their minds. Everyone's mouths twitched. The situation was extremely awkward. What parent? You're looking for me for something, right? Shening spoke up, breaking the strange atmosphere. Xian Yuanyu paused. Indeed. He was silent for a while, as if he did not know what to say. After a while he said, It's like this. The patriarch of the Yin family is curious about Great Immortal. He heard that Great Immortal was here, so he asked me to come and see if I could meet you. The Yin family? Shening paused. The Yin family is the organizer of this competition. Thinking of this, Xian Yuanyu could not help but grit his teeth and complain about the sly old foxes of the Yin family. The Xian Yuan family was one of the 4 aristocratic families. Their every move was watched by all the sects in the Upper Azure world. It was no secret that he had been overly friendly to Shening these 2 days. Presumably, the 4 great families were now guessing her identity. The Yin family was no exception, but he hadn't expected that unlike the other 2 families, Yin Feng would directly seek him out and ask for an introduction.
It was obvious that no matter who the other party was, they had to get to know him first. The Yin family was indeed the biggest profiteer in the Upper Azure world. They were faster and more decisive than others. However, because of the relationship between the two families, he had no choice but to brace himself and mention it to the great deity. Why does he want to see me? Shining was confused. Xian Yuan froze for a moment before replying. Maybe. I just admire the great immortal's elegance and want to get to know you. When? After the finals tomorrow. Oh, so troublesome. After the match, she just wanted to go home and sleep. If it's not convenient for great immortal, another day is fine. Don't worry. I didn't reveal any information about you to him. Afraid that she would be angry, Xian Yuanyu immediately added. I'll inform Patriarch Yin to cancel tomorrow's banquet. A banquet? Shining suddenly perked up. She grabbed his hand and said, in order not to make things difficult for you, I've decided to go. Tell me what time. What time? Where is the venue? Is there a dress code? How are the dishes? Xian Yuanyu. Lone Moon. I Ching. The third day. The finals of the sect competition were finally here. Compared to the first day, there were more people watching the competition this time. Even the 4 big family clans were here, including the host, the Yin family. The finals would be a duel, and the winner would enter the next round. Then, one person would draw lots to decide who would get a bye, and the top 3 would be decided. Lone Moon had already told the 4 people who had advanced to the finals last night that they had already achieved their goal of entering the top 10. There was no need to work too hard, especially for the 2 golden core cultivators. The other people in the top 10 were all disciples of the perfected golden core aristocratic families. The foundation establishment cultivators fared better, but after a series of battles, only one of them entered the top 5 and was defeated. It was already a pleasant surprise to be able to get 5th place, but they did not expect the golden core group to be even more pleasantly surprised. They actually advanced to the finals of the top 3. What's more, this person was not the mid-stage golden core Yu Hong, but Sister Siyu, who had just formed her core and looked the weakest. Lone Moon was a little confused. He did not see her fight just now. How did she suddenly enter the top 3? After asking around, he found out that it was because, got a bye? I Ching was stunned. He did not expect this to be the reason. I heard that one of the 10 people got into a fight last night and was seriously injured. That's why he withdrew from the competition. She was lucky again. She got a bye twice. That was why she did not have to do anything and directly advanced to the finals of the top 3. Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. They were both speechless. Sister Siyu's luck was really unparalleled. Sister Little Green is up, Shining suddenly said as she pointed to the arena. Indeed, the arena had been cleared. 2 figures, one green and one blue, appeared. The one in green was Siyu. Her opponent was a perfected golden core cultivator. Judging from his aura, he was already half a step into the nascent soul stage. The 2 of them had no choice but to focus on the competition. Yu Hong was still fine. She was at the mid-stage golden core stage. But Siyu had to fight. This was going to be a tough battle. Lone Moon had already thought about how he was going to comfort the girl later, so that he wouldn't hurt her confidence. Yin Yuanfei of the Yin family seeks your guidance. The figure in blue cupped his fists and bowed. Siyu gripped her sword tightly. She was clearly nervous. She looked up at the highest point of the spectator stand. Then, as if gathering her courage, she took a deep breath and shouted, Invincible sect Siyu, please guide me, fellow Taoist. The next moment, the 2 figures flashed at the same time and began to fight. Yin Yuanfei had a rare thunder spirit root. Every move he made was accompanied by lightning. In addition, his cultivation level was high. In a short while, the entire arena was filled with the sound of thunder. Siyu had no place to stand. Siyu could only dodge. At first she was a little flustered, but after a while she calmed down. While dodging, she used her sword to split the lightning around her. In a short while, besides the lightning, there was also sword chi. Yin Yuanfei was stunned for a moment, and then there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. He originally thought that this junior sister was lucky,
because she always drew a blank every time, so she had the chance to fight him. But he never expected that she really had some ability. Her cultivation level was so much lower than his, but she could still deal with his lightning so easily. She was indeed worthy of being in the top 10. Could it be that she was a sword cultivator? His heart sank. His expression became more serious. Fellow Taoist, your sword technique is amazing. Chapter 73. He mobilized his spirit qi, and did not hold back. He attacked with all his might. Suddenly, the ground was filled with lightning. In a short while, a long dragon formed by lightning appeared in the field. As the opponent moved, rocks flew everywhere and lightning filled the air. It charged towards Siyu with a shocking momentum. Siyu was shocked. It was too late to retreat. She could only leap into the air. She retracted her sword qi and formed hundreds of spirit swords around her, blocking the lightning that was everywhere. But her cultivation level was lower than her opponent's. She could only defend for a short while. The longer she fought, the more spirit qi she used. In less than half an hour, her spirit qi was exhausted. Occasionally, lightning would break through the sword array and hit her body. The sword array was on the verge of collapsing. It was over. Yin Yuanfei heaved a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to give his opponent the final blow and win the match, he faintly felt a chill on his back. His rich battle experience made him subconsciously use his sword to block the attack. He felt a weight on his hand. Siyu, who had been trapped in the lightning, suddenly appeared behind him. He looked back. There was no longer anyone in the sword array. An illusion array. He retreated in shock. He did not expect her to know array formations. His palms felt numb. Were all sword cultivators this strong? He became even more cautious as he fought. The two of them fought for another 2 hours. Although they did not gain an advantage, Siyu was only at the early golden core stage. She was slowly losing ground. Even her movements to dodge the lightning were becoming slower and slower. Yin Yuanfei heaved a sigh of relief. The lightning he summoned became more and more concentrated. Siyu frowned. Although she was not satisfied, she could not win this battle. She used up the last bit of her spirit qi. The defense around Siyu instantly disappeared. The lightning that filled the sky immediately struck her body. Just as she was about to give up, a bolt of lightning struck her in the chest, and something slid out from inside. Her expression changed. She hurriedly tried to pick it up, but it was too late. A bell fell to the ground with a ding, and was smashed into pieces by the lightning. Her face instantly turned deathly pale. She no longer cared about the lightning around her. Her eyes widened as she stared at the ground. My ring. Ring. Yin Yuanfei stopped his attacks right away when he saw Chun-Shi had completely stopped resisting, and then he cupped his fists and said, "Fellow Taoist, thank you for letting me win." He thought she hadn't heard him clearly, so he said, "Fellow Taoist, your spiritual aura is already exhausted. There's no need to continue this fight." He kindly reminded her to admit defeat. Fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, why are you? He took a step forward. But before he could finish speaking, the person who was in a daze suddenly turned around with bloodshot eyes, and a murderous aura rushed toward him. "I'll kill you, bastard." Huh. Before he could react, he saw the other party's originally exhausted body suddenly bulge with strong muscles. Even her sleeves were torn. Her originally petite figure suddenly grew several times taller. A pair of eyes that seemed to be burning with monstrous anger pierced her body like a sharp sword. "You. Give. Back. My. Gift. Danger." 2 words immediately appeared in his mind. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. He only felt his collar tighten, and he was directly thrown to the ground. In the next moment, the raindrop-like fists landed on his face, accompanied by a series of questions. "Return my gift. Return my gift. Return my gift." Each punch was heavier than the one before, and each punch was more irresistible than the one before. After a few breaths, Yin Yuanfei completely lost consciousness. Only the sound of punches could be heard in the arena. There was dead silence. What did they see? Body cultivator. A woman. The kind who would pant while alive. Lone Moon, who knew the situation.
What the hell was that steel Barbie? Return my soft and adorable disciple. The bloody beating on the arena lasted for a whole 10 minutes before the referee outside the arena reacted. He hurriedly shouted, "Invincible! Invincible sect, CU wins!" With that said, he jumped onto the arena, wanting the people in the arena to stop. Just as he approached, CU, who had already transformed into a steel Barbie, turned around and glared at him. Her eyes were still red, and her whole body began to attack indiscriminately. She had no intention of stopping. The referee was so frightened that he stopped. Shunning. Lone Moon gritted his teeth and turned to look at the person beside him. It was all her fault. Ha! Shunning looked confused. What? Master. I Ching, who was the only one who was calm, reminded her. If she doesn't stop, that person is going to be beaten to death. And she was so angry that she seemed to be unable to hear what others were saying. Oh! Shunning finally spoke. She shouted, "Little Green, stop fighting." The people in the arena paused. They stopped instantly. She slowly turned her head and looked over. Her entire huge body trembled. Suddenly, she sniffled and tears began to flow out of her eyes. She pointed at the bell on the ground and began to bawl. "Sect Master, bell bell my bell wah." For a moment, the entire arena was filled with CU's heartbroken cries. Everyone. What was going on? Why was the winner crying first? The one who should be crying should be the one who was beaten, right? Shunning could not help but feel a little guilty. She got up and jumped onto the arena. She patted CU's shoulder and said, "Don't cry, don't cry." Sect Master. CU sniffled. For a moment, it was as if she had found someone to rely on. Her aura dissipated. In the blink of an eye, she became that delicate and adorable girl again. But my bell. It's all right. It's broken, so be it. Shunning turned and took out a piece of candy from her pocket. As if coaxing a child, she said, "Do you want candy?" "Sect Master, you're giving it to me?" CU stopped crying. Her face was full of disbelief. "Then, can you give me a new bell?" "Sure. I'll get Chef to make one when we get back." "Thank you, Sect Master." The two of them spoke as they walked out of the arena. Everyone. What kind of freaking sect was this? Father Neo, let's go eat at the celebration banquet. Shunning waved at the despairing man in the room. Eat your sister. Lone Moon clenched the cup in his hand and crushed it into pieces. He exploded in anger. What's there to celebrate? CU became the champion of the Golden Core stage in this year's sect competition. The name of Invincible Sect spread throughout the entire Upper Azure world. But Lone Moon was not happy at all. He even wanted to curse at them. Because of CU's battle, the entire Upper Azure world knew that everyone in Invincible Sect was a body cultivator. Not many people liked to cultivate in the first place. With this wave of publicity, it was completely blocked. Others wanted to join Invincible Sect. After all, there were easier ways to cultivate. No one would want to become a body cultivator who could easily be struck to death by lightning. Originally, when he brought the 9 girls to participate in the competition, he had instructed them to only use the sword techniques they had learned in battle. First, it was because they were indeed proficient in sword techniques. Second, it was to hide their identity as body cultivators. Even if people felt that their bodies were stronger than the average person's, they would at most think that they were sword cultivators. In the end, who the hell knew that there was a second form for body cultivators? Once they fought, all their muscles would burst out, and they would turn into a metal Barbie. Were they King messing with him? He felt that the heavens were starting to dislike him more and more. For all, MMP. Chapter 74. The Yin family was indeed the wealthiest family in the Upper Azure world. The banquet was arranged at the largest restaurant in Yintian City, Zhengfeng Restaurant. Once the sky turned dark, they sent their disciples to invite the guests, and cleared the place early. When Shunning arrived, Xian Yuanyu and the head of the Yin family, Yin Feng, were already waiting at the door. They had met during the finals in the day, but they had not spoken to each other. Unlike the other 3 family heads, Yin Feng looked especially amiable and always had a smile on his face. Seeing them land, He quickly walked up to them. Xian Yuanyu took a few steps forward and bowed to Shening. Great immortal. Then he turned and introduced. This is the head of the Yin family, Yin Feng. What a rare guest. Fellow Taoists, you must have had a tough journey. Yin Feng's smile deepened. Good evening. Shening glanced at the restaurant in front of her and waved in a good mood. Fellow Taoist. Yin Feng glanced at the people behind her and continued. I was busy during the day and haven't had time to congratulate your sect's disciples for winning the Golden Core first place in the competition. Indeed, a great teacher produces a great disciple. Lone Moon stiffened. He felt like he had been shot in the knee again. Has the banquet started? Shening had no interest in this kind of business flattery and went straight to the point. How would I dare to start the banquet before everyone is here? Yin Feng stepped back and said, Fellow Taoist, thank you for attending this banquet. Please come in. Shening was really a little hungry. Just as she was about to enter, she bumped into a familiar sign at the entrance. She froze and stopped at the door, feeling cold sweat dripping down her face. Master? Why? I Ching, who was following behind, was just about to speak when his eyes scanned the sign, and he also froze. The sign was written in large gold letters. Shening and dogs are not allowed inside. Seeing that they had suddenly stopped, Yin Feng followed their line of sight and immediately explained with a smile. Oh, this was put up for a few rogue cultivators. A few years ago, a restaurant under the Yin family reported that 3 cultivators not only dined and dashed, but also tried to escape. That's why they put up this sign as a warning and punishment. The person on the sign is the mastermind. The 3 who dashed and dashed. Profiteers. Xian Yuanyu looked curiously and was shocked. Why does this person's name sound like? Before he could finish speaking, he felt 3 cold gazes poking at his chest and he froze. The great immortal's gaze suddenly became so scary? Did he say something wrong? This sign has been up for more than a year. It's just an old matter that's not worth mentioning. Everyone please come in. Yin Feng was still smiling amiably, not noticing the abnormality of the few people. The moment he stepped into the shop, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Shening and said, Oh yes, I only know that you are from Invincible Sect. May I know your names? The corner of Shen Ying's mouth twitched. She glanced at the sign beside her and replied after a while. My name is Qing. Qing what? She poked Chef beside her. A certain chef understood immediately and reminded in a low voice, I Ching. Yes, I Ching. She said seriously. My name is I Ching. My name is Lone Moon. I Ching immediately replied. Lone Moon. Shit. MMP. Yin Feng was shocked. I Ching, Lone Moon. Weren't these the 2 sword cultivators who broke into the Xian Yuan family a year ago? He suddenly understood why Xian Yuanyu was so friendly towards them. So that was why. So it's Sect Master Yi and Supremacy Lone Moon. Yin Feng, who thought he knew the truth, turned to look at the other person on the right. Then I wonder who this supremacy is. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Damn it, he had already told them all their names. What else was he supposed to say? He turned to glare at the 2 of them. After a while he gritted his teeth and said, Niu Huayan. Fortunately, he still had his real name. These 2 ungrateful bastards. Supremacy Niu. Yin Feng nodded. Everyone please come in. Only Xian Yuanyu looked confused. What was going on? Why did they all suddenly change their names? Great Immortal even changed her own disciple's name? Could it be that she was unhappy about today's banquet and deliberately did not tell the Yin family her real name? Great Immortal's thoughts were so hard to guess. When the group entered the restaurant, they realized that it was a whole different world inside. Immortal fog lingered and spirit chi filled the air. Every step they took, a different scene appeared in front of them. It did not look like they were in a restaurant, but more like a scenic spot. Yin Feng led the group to the center of a peach forest. Only then did they see that there were many tables and chairs in front of them. The tables were already filled with all kinds of food. Shen Ying's eyes lit up. There were more than 10 servant girls standing by the table. The moment they arrived, a man dressed in blue rushed forward excitedly. The man was very tall and had the body of a model. It was just that his face was a little hard to describe. A mass of red, a mass of green, and a mass of purple. It was especially colorful. Father. The man practically jogged over. He first bowed to Xining and the others. Greetings, supremacies. He immediately turned to look at the group of girls behind him. His eyes lit up and he said excitedly to the girl standing next to him, Miss Siyu, we meet again. Siyu was stunned. She lowered her head out of habit and hid behind Yu Hong. Fei, didn't I tell you to rest in your room? Why did you come out? Yin Feng smiled awkwardly and explained, This is my son, Yuan Fei. He gave the man a look. Father is entertaining guests. How could Yuan Fei not come out to greet them? Everyone please take a seat. Yuan Fei had no intention of going back. Instead, he smiled even more brightly. He even led the group to their seats. But his gaze was fixed on Siyu. He was so enthusiastic that it seemed like he was glowing. There was hope. Who is this? Shening looked at Chef beside her. Yuan Fei, second in the golden core stage, I Ching replied. He then added, the one who was beaten up by Siyu during the day. Oh, she suddenly thought of a certain figure who was beaten up during the day. She looked sympathetically at that person's face, which had yet to recover. Young people these days have such strong tastes. How could he like someone after being beaten up? Shening wanted to continue gossiping, but she was too hungry. The moment she sat down, she focused on eating. Yin Feng, who was sitting at the head of the table, also began to flatter Shening. When Shening ate, she did not speak much. Apart from oh and n, she basically did not respond. Needless to say, apart from Shening, he had always been a man of few words. His replies were as simple as they could be. He only focused on silently moving the food in front of him to Xin Ying's table beside him. And the other 9 girls were a generation lower in status. Thus, Lone Moon was the only one left to answer the question. Yin Feng had wanted to get information out of them, find out their background, and build a good relationship. Although he was a cultivator, he was also half a businessman. He had thought that it would be easy to get information about their background, but he did not expect to meet Lone Moon. Half a current profiteer met a former profiteer from the people. One could imagine the result. In less than an hour, Yin Feng did not get any information at all. Instead, he was turned upside down by the other party. They even agreed to buy invincible sex spirit herbs at double the market price, and the Xianyuan family would refine them into pills for free. By the time they reacted, Yin Feng was already holding the contract with their fingerprints. Brother Yin, Brother Xianyuan, I wish us a happy cooperation in the future. Lone Moon happily shook Yin Feng's hand, looking like a typical business elite. Xianyuanyu. Yin Feng. Where were they and what did they do just now? Chapter 75. Thank you, family head Yin, for your hospitality. It's getting late, so we won't disturb you any longer. Lone Moon put away the contract in his arms and raised his wine glass to the person sitting at the main seat. Yin Feng was still immersed in the unequal contract, but the other party had already stood up and was about to leave. Let's go. Lone Moon pulled Shening up. Oh, Shening, who was almost done eating, clapped her hands and stood up as well. What's your name? Thank you, goodbye. Yin Feng had no choice but to stand up and send them off. It was too late to regret, so he could only smile and walk them to the door. Goodbye, family heads. Lone Moon cupped his fists and smiled politely. Take care, fellow Taoist. The few of them were just about to step onto the Dharma artifact when Yuan Fei, who had been circling around Sister Siyu all night, suddenly called out, Miss Siyu. Everyone paused and turned to look at him. Siyu in particular frowned subconsciously. Is there anything else? This. Yuan Fei's face turned red. He looked reluctant, but he could not think of a reason to leave. He was born the son of the Yin family's family head, and he had the rare thunder spirit root. His cultivation was smooth, and he was extremely talented. Ever since he was young, he had been the most outstanding disciple of his generation. Whether it was in the various sects or the 4 big families, he had rarely met a worthy opponent. This was the first time he had been suppressed by someone,
and the other party was a female cultivator. He was also at the age where he was experiencing his first awakening of love. Naturally, he took her to heart. However, although she looked weak, she did not seem to have any romantic feelings for him. Be careful. Tomorrow morning I'll go to your little courtyard to look for you. What are you going to my little courtyard for? Siyu took a step back unhappily. She did not know this person well. Yin Yuanfei paused, his face turning even redder. He scratched his head anxiously. After a while, as if he had found a reasonable excuse, he said, "Well, didn't the Yin family want to buy invincible sex spirit herbs? I'll send the deposit tomorrow. Yin Feng. Xian Yuanyu. Prodigal asterisk 2. They're such a pig-headed teammate." Lone Moon was delighted. Although he did not intend to accept it at first, he quickly stepped forward and said, "Then we will await young Master Yin's arrival tomorrow." To prevent them from going back on their words, Lone Moon did not stay any longer. He led the group of people away. Only Yin Yuanfei was left standing where he was. He stared blankly at the direction in which everyone had disappeared. After the sect competition ended, Lone Moon seemed to have found a new goal in life. He forced himself to stay in Yintian City for a few more days. No one knew what he was busy with. It's fine as long as you don't take it too seriously. You can't hang on to one tree. Life is so long. You have to try hanging on to a few more. You're still young. That's why you're hesitating about whether you like him or not. Sect Master, have you been cultivating for a long time? Of course. I'm almost in my 30s now. 30? She paused. Sect Master's words are so profound. I've been cultivating for 60 to 70 years, but I still can't fully understand it. Shining stiffened. She coughed and said, Keep it up. When you grow up, you won't be hesitating about whether you like him or not. You'll be hesitating about whether you like him or not. Is that possible? She felt as if she had opened the door to a whole new world. Of course. Trust me, that's how relationships between men and women work. But, her eyes brightened. He's the young master of the Yin family after all. If we offend him, won't it be bad for the sect? Don't worry. I'm here. What's there to be afraid of? Alright, Sect Master. I understand. With that said, she seemed to have made up her mind about something. She stood up abruptly and said, I'm going over right now. With that, she stormed out the door. Wait a minute. Where was she going? What did she just say? Chapter 76. In the end, Siyu did not return until the afternoon. Shening was a little worried and asked Radish and Yu Hong to look for her. But when night fell, Yu Hong and Radish were nowhere to be seen, much less Siyu. Even Lone Moon had returned. Could something have really happened? The more Shening thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. It was just a breakup. Could it be that the masochist was not satisfied after being rejected and captured her? Go and find out if there's any news about the Yin family's young master. Lone Moon also realized that something was wrong. He immediately sent a girl to investigate. That girl had only left for less than 5 minutes when she hurriedly returned. Sect Master, in the afternoon, the Yin family's young master got into a conflict with someone in the west of the city. They even got into a fight. I heard that they met people from the Soul-Chasing Tower. Soul-Chasing Tower? Lone Moon stood up in shock. Who are they? I Ching asked. That's an organization that's neither good nor evil. Lone Moon frowned. The people inside are good at concealing their tracks. Even high-level cultivators would not be able to detect them easily. I heard that their information network is spread all over the 3 Azure realms. They specialize in selling the secrets of various sects for a living. As long as you can afford it, you can find out what you want. Their main building is in the west of the city. Then why did they capture our sect's disciples? I Ching frowned. Maybe it's because they won the competition, and some people are jealous. Lone Moon snorted and gripped the flute in his hand. If they want to be jealous, they have to see if they have the ability to do so. Do they really think that our invincible sect is easy to bully? With that said, he turned to Shining. Shining, I'm going to the soul-chasing tower with I Ching. We'll be back soon. Alright. Shining nodded. But little. Before she could finish, Lone Moon and I Ching had already disappeared in the west of the city. They had gone to find someone to settle scores with. A while later, Little White. Yes, Sect Master. When Little Hong and Radish left just now, they said they were going to the east of the city to find someone, right? I think so. Then can they find someone? Shining hesitated about whether she should chase after them and warn them. Just then, someone else came looking for them from outside. This person was dressed in the standard blue robes of the Yin family. He looked to be in his 40s, and looked a little familiar. Greetings, Sect Master Yi. That person bowed to her. Ah. Shining hesitated for a moment. She thought of a certain forbidden token and reacted. Oh, you called me. Yes, I'm Sect Master Yi. This lowly one is the shopkeeper of Zhengfeng Restaurant, a branch of the Yin clan. The patriarch asked me to invite sect leader Yi to the Yu family's residence in Huayuan City as soon as possible, said the man hurriedly, looking a little anxious. The Yu family? She was stunned. Why are we going there? Young Master Siyu and Lady Yu Hong are at the Yu family right now. What? Wasn't he captured by the soul-chasing tower? I'm not too sure about the specifics, but it doesn't seem to be a small matter. Patriarch has already rushed over. If he's late, go. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Shining grabbed him and rushed out of the door. They left the city and ran in the direction the shopkeeper had pointed. Yintian City was not far from Huayuan City. Shining ran very fast. In less than an hour, they had arrived at the Yu family's residence. Coincidentally, they met Yin Feng and Xian Yuanyu at the door. Fellow Taoist Yi. Yin Feng looked at Shining in surprise. He did not expect her to arrive so quickly. Great Immortal. Xian Yuanyu was also shocked. He glanced at the shopkeeper, who was vomiting beside her. What happened? She asked directly. The Yu family said that Yuanfei stopped them from capturing their fugitive slaves. Yin Feng frowned and looked up at Shining. In a low voice he said, Now Yuanfei see you, and Yu Hong are all inside. This concerns your sect, so I informed Sect Master Yi. We will only know the specifics after we go in. With that said, he did not bother to explain further. He turned and walked in quickly. Shining followed behind him. Great Immortal Shun. Xian Yuanyu stepped forward and called out to her. Yes. Shining turned around. He smiled awkwardly and said, Well, the Yu family master has always been impulsive. He does not know Great Immortal's capabilities. He might offend you if he goes in. I hope Great Immortal can be more understanding. He had rushed over after hearing that Yin Feng had informed her. He was afraid that something would happen. After all, the Yu family was one of the 4 big families. Remembering the lesson his family had been taught, he pleaded for the Yu family. Shining tilted her head. Are they that insensible? Yes, Xian Yuanyu admitted. So, could Great Immortal please try not to get physical? Shining hesitated for a moment and nodded. All right. I promise you that no matter what happens, I will reason with them first. Thank you, Great Immortal. Thank you, Great Immortal. Xian Yuanyu heaved a sigh of relief. Perhaps because the family masters of the Yin family and the Xian Yuan family were here. The 3 of them did not encounter any obstacles. They walked all the way to the front hall. You're spouting nonsense. From afar, he could hear Sister Siyu's exhausted rebuttal. You still dare to quibble at this point. A soul formation suppressive voice came from the front. Yin Yuanfei and Siyu, who were standing not far from the door, were about to be forced to their knees. Yin Feng panicked and rushed in to support the 2 of them. He looked at his son anxiously, then looked at the person at the head of the table angrily. Family Master Yu, what is the meaning of this? Brother Yin is here. The Yu family smiled and immediately retracted his suppressive aura. He scanned the 3 of them and paused. Why is Brother Xian Yuanyu here as well? Sect Master. Seeing Shining, Siyu pushed Yin Yuanfei away and hurried forward. She tugged at Shen Ying's sleeves with an aggrieved expression. Senior Sister Hong. They captured Big Sister Hong. Shenning frowned. She patted Siyu's head and pulled Siyu behind her. Then, she scanned the people in the hall and asked in a low voice, "What happened?" Xian Yuanyu trembled. Fortunately, he had told her in advance. He turned and saw a few people sitting in the hall. Yu Haiheng was sitting at the head of the table. Below him sat 5 cultivators of different ages. They were all traveling immortals of the Yu family. The Yu family master, Yu Haiheng, did not reply to Shenning. It was as if he did not care about her at all. Instead, Yin Feng glared at the person at the head of the table angrily. Shouldn't the Yu family master give us an explanation? How did the Yin family offend the Yu family? Why did you kidnap my son and bring him here? Family master Yin, you misunderstand. Yu Haiheng smiled, not looking the least bit guilty. We are not targeting the Yin family. It's just that your son insisted on protecting this escaped slave. We had no choice but to invite him here. Nonsense. Who is the escaped slave of the Yu family? Before Yin Feng could speak, Yin Yuanfei stepped forward and said, "Who doesn't know that Siyu is the champion of the Golden Core tournament? When did she become the escaped slave of the Yu family?" Chapter 77. I just found out too. They are the slaves from the Yu family, who went missing a year ago. Yu Haiheng looked at Siyu, who was standing behind Shenning maliciously. She and that girl called Yu Hong used to be the nascent soul-perfected Zhenxiang's human cauldrons. Human cauldrons? Everyone turned to look at Siyu in shock. A year ago, perfected Zhenxiang suddenly went missing. Not even his body could be found. Yu Haiheng continued. Yu Haiyan continued. After his death, the 9 human cauldrons under him also disappeared without a trace. According to the last person who saw Zhenxiang, he went to catch the traitor who stole the artifact, because it was stolen. That's why he never returned. He must have been killed by the 9 people. As the family head, I have to seek justice for my people. Zhenxiang colluded with fiendish cultivators to silence us. Siyu retorted loudly. So you admit that you are a slave of the Yu family? Yu Haiheng laughed coldly. You, he turned to look at Shenning and said sarcastically, "What a coincidence. There are only 9 human cauldrons in the Yu family. Your invincible sect also sent 9 disciples to participate in the sect competition. Sect master, don't you think you should give the Yu family an explanation?" Shen Ying's eyes turned cold and her expression darkened. Don't talk nonsense, family head Yu. Xian Yuanyu's heart trembled. He quickly stepped forward and shouted, "You said that all the human cauldrons from the Yu family were human cauldrons. But look at Lady Siyu. She is the top golden core cultivator. Everyone knows what a human cauldron is like. How could she have won the competition? You must have made a mistake." That's right, that's right. Yin Yuanfei reacted and retorted. And Lady Siyu is a body cultivator. I've never heard of any body cultivators in the Yu family. What do you mean by that? Yu Haiheng was getting angry. He seemed to be unhappy that they were helping him. Do you think I, the dignified family head of the Yu family, would make a mistake like this? What's more, she just admitted it herself. Family head Yu, it's better to investigate. Seeing Shen Ying's darkening expression, Xian Yuan tried to persuade Yu Haiheng. What's more, she's a golden core cultivator. How can she defeat a nascent soul-perfected one? Actually, the 3 families present all knew that the Yu family's objective wasn't to capture any fugitive slaves. It was just that the invincible sect had suddenly appeared, and was so powerful, that the Yu family and the other aristocratic families were tempted. There were only so many resources in the Upper Azure world. To the aristocratic families, there were only 2 ways to deal with this new force: befriend or suppress. It was obvious that the Yu family and Xianyuan family were trying to befriend each other. The Yu family, on the other hand, had lost the initiative, so they had chosen another option. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that this small sect had yet to become a marquee, to completely suppress it to eliminate future troubles, and ensure the unique status of the aristocratic family. Now that they had this weakness, they naturally wanted to crush invincible sect to death. If it was in the past, everyone would have a tacit understanding about this kind of thing. Perhaps they would even push him from behind. But The sect master of Invincible Sect was a great immortal. The great immortal Shen, who single-handedly beat up 5 traveling immortals the moment she came to the Upper Azure world, and almost destroyed the Xian Yuan family in one day. No one even knew how terrifyingly powerful she was. Until now, he couldn't even muster up any thoughts of resisting. If Yu Haiheng thought that such a person was easy to bully, then the Yu family was really too pitiful. Who knows what methods they used. The Yu family was still unwilling to let the matter rest. He glanced at Si Yu and said, "Don't forget that Jin Xiang said he lost his Dharma treasure. She suddenly became a body cultivator, isn't that proof? What's more, the senior sister she mentioned has the surname Yu. I've already done a blood test. She is indeed a collateral descendant of the Yu family, and one of the missing fugitive slaves. Jin Xiang's death, even if they weren't the culprit, but I did it." Shening finally couldn't take it anymore. She raised her hand and said, "That scum. I was the one who beat him up." Everyone was shocked and turned their heads to look at her. The Yu family even sneered. Xian Yuanyu was stunned. Why did the great immortal admit it herself? Were they going to start a fight? "Great immortal, you did a good job." Xian Yuanyu changed the topic and continued to put out the fire. He said seriously, "That perfected Jin Xiang is definitely not a good person. That's why you had to do it yourself." Yu Haiheng. Is this Xian Yuanyu crazy? That scum forced people to become human cauldrons, used them to test his medicine, and even used living people to refine pills. He is indeed not a good person. Shening said honestly. What refining pills using living people? Yin Feng was shocked. That was something only fiendish cultivators would do. Nonsense, Yu Haiheng said anxiously. As if he hadn't expected her to say such things, he retorted. Jin Xiang is famous for being an easygoing person in the collateral family. Who would believe that he would do such a thing? I believe him. Xian Yuanyu immediately raised his hand. Yu Haiheng's chest tightened again. I believe that the great sect master Yi is not the kind of person to accuse others. Since she has already done it, it must be Jin Xiang who made a huge mistake. Xian Yuanyu. Yu Haiheng was furious. He didn't understand why Xian Yuanyu would rather offend the Yu family than help Invincible Sect. Patriarch Yu, this is a misunderstanding. Quickly release the Invincible Sect disciples. I'm trying to save you, brother. Yu Haiheng didn't understand the hint in his eyes at all. He snorted and turned to look at Yin Feng. Patriarch Yin, do you also think that Jin Xiang deserved his death? Yin Feng looked back and forth between Xian Yuanyu and Yu Haiheng. Wasn't this a matter between the Yu family and Invincible Sect? Why were the two of them fighting over it first? He hesitated for a moment, not knowing which side to take. Finally, he looked at his son, who was full of anticipation, and sighed. I also believe in Sect Master Yi's character. If someone from the Yu family really did such an evil thing, I think Patriarch Yu would have to thank Sect Master Yi for helping you clean up the mess. Yu Haiheng was clearly unhappy with this outcome. He had wanted to suppress Invincible Sect, but he didn't expect that not only would he not get any benefits, he would also have to drag out a bunch of scandals that would embarrass the Yu family. Even so, they are still escaped slaves of the Yu family. Patriarch Yu's words are not right. Xian Yuanyu took the opportunity to say, if Jin Xiang really did such an evil thing, he can no longer be considered a righteous sect. Naturally, he can no longer be a member of the Yu family. Then the human cauldrons under him are no longer slaves of the Yu family. Where did the escaped slaves come from? This matter has not been concluded. Just one side of the story is not enough to prove it. Yu Haiheng still didn't give up. Now we don't even know where Jin Xiang's body is. How can we prove that he really practiced demonic arts? He's in Upper Azure Town, Shening said. That person should still be underground. Go and dig, you'll be able to find him. After some thought, she added, we might have to dig a little deeper. Underground. Xian Yuanyu shuddered as he recalled certain scenes. Suddenly, he didn't want to ask what exactly happened in Upper Azure Town. Yu Haiheng's expression completely darkened. There was nothing more to argue about. The Yu family had also received some news about Jin Xiang. They were just finding an excuse to suppress Invincible Sect. But if they really found Zhenxiang's body, the nascent soul's body would not decompose. Everything would be clear once they checked his meridians. Since we haven't found out the truth, let's stop here. Yin Feng stepped forward and said, Patriarch Yu, please let go of the 2 disciples of Invincible Sect. That's right, Patriarch Yu, hurry up and let them go. Xian Yuanyu urged. Siyu was overjoyed. Her previously tense nerves finally relaxed, and she looked at Shen Ying excitedly. Oh right. Shen Ying seemed to have thought of something. She turned and looked straight at Yu Haiheng. Slowly, as if enunciating each word, she said, No matter what you find in the future, whether it's little green or little red, I don't care who they were in the past, but in the future they will be sisters of Invincible Sect. You can't just capture them. I don't have a good temper. You have to remember that. What did she mean? A threat? How dare a mere sect master threaten the Yu family? Yu Haiheng was so angry that he was about to stand up. Xian Yuanyu quickly stepped forward and held him back. He nodded at Shen Ying and chuckled. Of course. This is all a misunderstanding. Let's not take it to heart. Patriarch Yu, please let the other disciple of Invincible Sect be released. Yu Haiheng blinked furiously. This time, Yu Haiheng finally understood what he meant. He snorted unwillingly and suppressed the anger in his heart. He gave a look to a traveling immortal elder beside him. The elder nodded. In a flash, he disappeared from the hall. A moment later, there was a thud and he appeared again. He casually threw the person he was holding onto the ground beside Shen Ying. It had only been a few hours, but Yu Hong's originally bright red clothes were now covered in dark, dried blood. Her body, hands, and face were covered with deep wounds that revealed her bones. Her originally exquisite hair bun was now a mess. She looked very pathetic. Senior sister. Siyu rushed over and carefully helped the person on the ground. But Yu Hong looked up at Shen Ying. Her eyes immediately lit up. She called out softly, Sect Master. She opened her mouth, as if trying to smile to reassure Shen Ying. However, the wound on her face opened up, and a drop of blood slid down the side of her face. Shen Ying felt as if a string that had been pressing down on her had snapped. Something exploded from within her. He looked up at the head of the table and laughed. Ha! I really don't like to reason. Great Immortal don't. But it was too late. In the next instant, Shen Ying had already appeared behind Yu Haiheng. Xian Yuan's heart sank. It's over. Chapter 78. In less than 5 minutes, Xian Yuanyu and Yin Feng witnessed a luxurious side courtyard, and half of the immortal city turn into ruins. There was not a single intact wall left in the Yu family's side courtyard. The place where the main hall used to be was now a huge crater tens of feet wide. Xian Yuanyu touched his heart. Given the current situation, he suddenly felt a little lucky. When Great Immortal came to the Xian Yuan family that day, she really wanted to have a chat with him. She had no intention of fighting at all. He turned to look at the person who had stopped fighting and was standing alone in the middle. He trembled. Ancestors, please bless me. Shen Ying dusted off her hands and turned around to walk towards the ruins that were already in a mess. She bent down and pulled out a person who was buried inside. He was barely breathing and no longer looked human. She stepped on him, and there was a faint sound of something cracking under her feet. Then she said in a low voice, "Tell me, where's my radish?" Yu Haiheng's consciousness had not returned yet. His whole body was in so much pain that he could barely feel anything. He only felt that something was rapidly flowing out of his body. In all his years as a soul formation cultivator, this was the first time he knew that someone could destroy his cultivation with just their fists. When he saw the impatient face in front of him again, fear rose in his heart. Was this really just a cultivator? After a long while, he realized that she was asking him a question. What radish? Who are you?" Shen Ying frowned and became even more impatient. She still spoke in that lazy tone. "You made such a big fuss today. Don't tell me that you just wanted to capture a girl from my sect for a day trip. I didn't ask just now, but that doesn't mean I'm stupid. Where's the radish?" "I don't know any dash." Before he could finish, Shen Ying exerted force with her foot. With a few cracking sounds,
Yu Haiheng spat out a column of blood. This is the last time. Where's the radish? She narrowed her eyes, her killing intent overflowing. Yu Haiheng suddenly felt like his primordial spirit was being torn apart. His vision began to blur. What radish? He didn't take any radish from her at all. Wait, could it be? His heart sank. A moment later, he seemed to think of something and spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. He used all his strength to open the spirit beast bag by his side. As soon as he touched the seal, a green shadow flashed out of the bag. Gee! Radish crawled out and dove into Xin Ying's arms. As if it had been wronged, it cried out quickly and anxiously. Gee. Xin Ying picked it up and looked at the vegetable that was still chirping. Why did you become like this? Why don't you change back to your human form? Rar. Radish felt even more wronged as it pointed at the person on the ground. The leaves on its head danced quickly and anxiously. Can't change. Gee. The radish nodded. Suddenly, it seemed to have thought of something. It waved one of its leaves in front of her pitifully and let out a series of crying and trembling sounds. Gee. Xin Ying took a closer look and saw that its originally long, emerald green leaves were broken in the middle. There was still green juice on the leaves. Injured. Gee. Is it painful? Gee. He glanced at the person at his feet. Was he the one who did it? Gee. He nodded. Her expression, which had just softened, immediately darkened again. She looked down at the person who was still trembling at her feet and turned to Xian Yuanyu, who had been watching the whole time. Vegetable Patriarch, do you have a knife? Huh. Xian Yuanyu, who was suddenly called out, stiffened. He looked at Yu Haiheng, who was lying on the ground on his last breath. Wasn't this person already crippled? Did he want to be chopped into pieces? Great immortal, he's already like this. It's not good to use a knife, right? Huh. Murderous intent filled the air. Xian Yuanyu trembled and immediately straightened his back. He said righteously, Great immortal, do you want a long knife, a short knife, a padao, a large ring-shaped knife, or a zamadeo? With that said, he waved his hand, and a dozen different kinds of knives floated next to her. Everyone. What happened to being brothers? Xin Ying randomly picked one and squatted down to look at the person on the ground. Well, what else do you want? Yu Haiheng's eyes widened as he looked at the knife in her hand in horror. I'm the patriarch of the Yu family. The debt just now belongs to Little Red. You even touched Radish. You have to pay the price. With that said, she reached out to grab his head. He became even more terrified. He seemed to be trying his best to avoid her hand, but he couldn't move even half a step. He could only scream. No, stop. Shut up. It's just shaving his head. Do you have to go this far? He screamed even louder. Just as Xin Ying's knife was about to land on his head, a white light suddenly flashed around him. The figure that was still crying just a moment ago suddenly disappeared. The knife fell to the ground with a thud. Xin Ying was stunned. She got up and looked around. She realized that not only Yu Haiheng, but the 5 Yu family traveling immortals, who were lying on the ground, had also disappeared. They're gone. What sorcery is this? Xian Yuanyu, who was closest to the knife, was also in a daze. She could actually escape under the great immortal's nose. What was even stranger was that even he did not feel any spirit chi fluctuations. What sorcery was this? Xin Ying frowned and suddenly looked up. After a while, she turned to the 2 girls and said, I'm tired. Let's go home. Yes, Sect Master. The 2 girls replied in unison, and immediately followed behind Xin Ying obediently. Their eyes were so bright that they seemed to be glowing. As expected of their sect master, she was still so mighty and domineering. Oh, intersection. Owen Yuanfei chased after her reluctantly. Miss Siyu. Siyu turned around and replied in a gentle voice, Scram. Don't disturb me from worshipping sect master. Oh. She timidly retreated behind Yin Feng. Yin Feng, who had been in a daze the whole time. Xian Yuanyu, who was experienced. Xin Ying. Why did Little Green's attitude change so quickly? He suddenly wanted to know what exactly she was talking about. By the time Xin Ying brought the 2 girls back to the courtyard, It was already past midnight. I Ching and Lo Moon had also returned. When they heard the news, they wanted to go out to look for her, but they happened to bump into her at the door. Master. I Ching quickly walked up to her. He looked her up and down before heaving a sigh of relief. Thank goodness she was not lost. You came back from the Yu family? What exactly happened? Has it been resolved? Lo Moon asked. Shining yawned. I'm so sleepy. Ask them. Shining casually plucked the sleeping radish off her leg and stuffed it into Father Nyo's arms. She turned and lay down on the table. Sigh. I don't understand why bad people always choose to do it at night. It's not good to disturb sleep. Lone Moon reflexively wanted to catch the radish, but found that it seemed to have gotten used to it. In an instant it slipped out of his arms, shook its leaves, and wrapped itself around his leg. It did not wake up at all. The corner of his mouth twitched. Using his divine perception, he found that the radish's spirit chi had been reduced by a quarter. It seemed to have been forced back to its original form. Chapter 79. What happened? It's the Yu family. Yu Hong stepped forward. Thanks to the elixir that Xian Yu and Yu had given her, her injuries had almost healed on the way back. She told him everything that had happened in the Yu family. In order to protect her, radish's leaves were shaved off by the Yu family's traveling immortals, causing it to revert to its original form. Because of this, its true form was exposed. Are you saying that the Yu family's patriarch suddenly disappeared? They even brought along those traveling immortal elders. The more Lone Moon listened, the deeper his frown became. Yu Hong nodded. I Ching's expression darkened as well. The Yu family is the oldest of the 4 aristocratic families. Could it be that they really have some secret technique that no one else knows about that allowed them to escape from Master's sight? It didn't run by itself. Shining, who was lying on the table, suddenly interrupted. Someone dragged it away. Pull them away. Lo Moon paused. You mean someone saved them? Who? I don't know. She buried herself again. The man didn't come out. Everyone's expression darkened. It seemed that the Yu family had many trump cards. Lone Moon scanned the disciples in the house and said in a low voice, Everyone go and pack up tonight. We will return to Invincible Sect tomorrow. It had to be said that Shen Ying's outburst tonight was a little too much. Not only did he cripple the cultivation of 5 traveling immortals, he even crippled the Yu family's family head. To the aristocratic families, this was not just a serious injury, but a comminuted fracture. If word of this got out, there would only be 3 aristocratic families left in the Upper Azure world. Although he didn't know who the person who saved him was, there must be a backup plan. After all, Yu Hong and the rest had low cultivation levels, and Tian City was someone else's territory. It was safer to return to the demon realm. Wait a minute, I seem to have forgotten something? Sai, forget it, it's not important. The unimportant soul-chasing tower people who were beaten up. What the F***CK? 3 days later. Hey, did you hear? The Yu family's traveling immortals were crippled by the Invincible Sect master, and even the family master is missing. What kind of family clan is it without traveling immortals? I think the Yu family is going to be in chaos. There will be one less aristocratic family in the future. Isn't that right? What is the background of this invincible sect? How can they fight against the Yu family? I heard that it's a great secluded immortal sect. No one knows the exact location of their sect, but their disciples are either sword cultivators or body cultivators. So powerful. Why would the Yu family provoke such a sect? I heard that it's because family head Yu captured 2 disciples of Invincible Sect and severely injured them. The patriarchs of the Yin family and the Xianyuan family tried to persuade them, but they refused to let them go. See, the sect master got angry and destroyed the Yu family? This sect leader is so powerful? I wonder who he is. I heard that the sect leader's surname is Yi, and his given name is a single character, Qing. Have you heard about what happened to the Xianyuan family a year ago? It was done by sect master Yi and Elder Lone Moon. Oh, it's him. Shening. I Ching. Lone Moon. Who told you to change other people's names? In just 3 days, Invincible Sect's name had spread throughout the entire Upper Azure world. The Invincible Sect, which had been forced to become a secluded immortal sect, had suddenly become a first-rate immortal sect. It was even more powerful than the other immortal sects, and was on the same level as the aristocratic families. News of the mysterious sect master, I Ching, destroying the Yu family in one night spread throughout the entire Upper Azure world. Lone Moon had also become familiar with the various sects, because he had gone out to do business for the past few days. Whenever people talked about Invincible Sect, they would mention this soul formation supremacy, who was better at doing business than the Yin family. Even the 9 girls who had participated in the competition had become the brightest stars among the younger generation of cultivators, because Siyu had become the champion. But there was no Shening. Not a single word, not a single stroke, not a single punctuation mark. Straight face, no one knew who Shening was. Even the Yin family's ban card that had been on display for a year had been removed. She did not even have the chance to become famous for eating and dashing. This time, she had lifted a rock and dropped it on her own foot. It hurt a little. After this incident, the Yu family was completely holed up, although they had a strong foundation and would not collapse just like that. Without the support of the traveling immortals, their influence in the Upper Azure world was not as great as before. Lone Moon had originally thought that with the status of an aristocratic family, the Yu family would at least make a scene or stir up public opinion to threaten them. He did not expect them to admit defeat so thoroughly. As for what happened that night, the Yin family and the Xian Yuan family did not come forward to clarify things, nor did they take sides. But in reality, they were already siding with Invincible Sect. That was why the outside world made the Invincible Sect into a hidden immortal sect. After that night, Yu Haihing did not appear again. Even the Yu family only said that he had gone missing. When he thought of the person who saved them, he could not help but worry. He had a strange premonition that the Yu family would not be as cowardly as the Xian Yuan family. Perhaps they were secretly preparing a big move or something. It would not be long before they came knocking on their door. But he did not expect that before the Yu family came knocking on their door, an unexpected person would appear. Reporting to the 2 elders, the rabbit demon at the foot of the mountain said that he found a spy who wanted to break into Invincible Sect. Yu Hong reported. Spy? Lone Moon was stunned. Could it be someone from the Yu family? He glanced at I Ching and instructed Yu Hong to keep the disciples from going down the mountain. Then he flew out with I Ching. From afar, they saw a group of 8th level and 9th level demons surrounding the array at the entrance of the mountain. They were shouting and fighting with a man dressed in black. The scene was very tense. What happened? I Ching and Lone Moon flew down and looked at the man. Their divine perception swept over immediately, but it seemed to touch a layer of fog. They could not find out the man's cultivation level at all. This man did not look simple. The 2 nobles are here. A rabbit demon stepped forward and said, A little demon informed us that this man appeared sneakily at the entrance of the mountain. We blocked him. He nodded. I Ching had already stepped forward and said, Who are you? Why did you trespass into Invincible Sect? The cultivator was clearly surrounded by more than 10 high-level demons, but he did not look the least bit afraid. He snorted and said, I am the Tower Master of Soul-Chasing Tower Feng Ying. I came here today to seek justice from Invincible Sect's Sect Master. It has nothing to do with others. Anyone who obstructs me will be killed. Soul-Chasing Tower? Why did it sound so familiar? Chef, have you heard of it? Never heard of it. I Ching shook his head. It's okay if you haven't heard of it now. You will remember this name in the future. The man looked confident. This is Tower Master crazy. Did Shening forget to pay for her meal again? How did our sect master offend you? What the hell was Tower Master crazy? Shouldn't he be called Tower Mastering? Feng Ying's expression turned cold. He became even angrier. Stop pretending. 3 days ago, wasn't it your sect master I Ching who barged into my soul-chasing tower when I was not around? He even injured more than 100 of my brothers in the name of looking for someone. You are a dignified hidden immortal sect. Don't you dare to admit to hurting people? 3 days ago, Soul-chasing tower, looking for someone? In a flash, I Ching and Lone Moon suddenly remembered the same scene. Both of them froze. Holy shit, they finally remembered what kind of place Soul-chasing tower was. That night, they were misled by wrong information and destroyed the tower. Both of their faces twitched. What should they do? Their boss actually came looking for them. How on earth did he find this place? The person who barged in called himself Sword Cultivator I Ching. I have already found out that I Ching is the sect master of your invincible sect. The more Feng Ying spoke, the angrier he became. He glanced at all the demons present, and then at the two soul formation cultivators. He said with some fear, "Today we are here to seek revenge. It has nothing to do with other people. Please tell me, where is the sect master of invincible sect now?" The corner of I Ching's mouth twitched. Lone Moon, however, was decisive. Without hesitation, he pointed to the mountain on the right. "Over there." "Thank you." Feng Ying's figure flashed and instantly flew in. I Ching. All the demons. "What are you looking at? You have a share too, okay?" Lone Moon turned back and glared at I Ching. "Besides, she will be fine." "I Ching, I feel like I have betrayed the sect." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.